a year.
We
Got it.
good.
We good.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mind, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? And welcome to another top 10 episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 403, recorded Monday, December 19th, 2022. Tonight, we're talking about the best and the worst of 2020 Deuce. We're closing out another year. Unbelievable. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randu. What's up, man?
Randu! How's it going, big guy? It seems like I just saw your pretty horror business face just yesterday.
Yeah, how blessed are you? Twice in 2 days. Here we are.
It really feels like the Lord is smiling upon me, but it's just you.
I mean, is there a difference, really? Let's be honest.
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, calling in from my immediate left, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what a bitch, you boy! 2020 Deuce Stains sending off.
Sending off a deuce.
Yeah. See you later. See you later, old girl. You were a good
Time to
one.
flush this deuce.
What a
She's
stain.
done.
Yeah. Yeah. Put her down.
Time for a bleaching, eh, Juice?
You know it.
Gotta clean
First
that
of
up.
the year, you know, got to keep it fresh. Going into a new year, boys.
Start clean.
I'm
Going in.
excited to enter a classy new year after this conversation.
With a classy bleached butthole.
Oh God. Oh yes.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
I'm prepared.
I hope you are. I'm praying. I'm praying for you, brother. I'm praying for all of you
Thanks.
Oh.
out there. We're counting down our top 10 of the year. We're also going to do a bottom 3, some honorable mentions, and we're going to do a quick little look forward to 2023, some of the movies that are being released that we're looking forward to. Before we get into all of that, though, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick. Our January poll is still posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about in January. The theme for January is shit we missed last year. The 3 movies to vote between are The Menu, Barbarian, and Smile.
Bob, how are those numbers looking? Has anybody changed their mind?
In the past 24 hours, I don't believe so. Since the last time we recorded.
All right.
Barbarian is at the top. The Menu and Smile still tied.
Well, we'll see tonight if old Barbarian is even on the list. Am I right?
We'll see. Maybe all
Am
3
I
are on
right?
the list.
Am I right?
Am I right?
Maybe we'll change some minds tonight. All right. Damn.
You're wrong,
Yep.
brother.
Well, we'll
It's
see.
looking like that one's gonna take it, but man, tough to
Yeah.
say because we are recording this so early. We're
Yeah,
just
we got like
of
2 weeks left.
calling it, kind of.
Calling it.
Mm,
Kind
might be that.
of.
Yeah,
Get your
yeah.
votes in before the end of December. We'll see what we're talking about this January. We do have a brand new mini cast dropping this Friday, December 23rd. Your boy Bob is going to be talking about Christmas, Bloody Christmas. This is that new hotness on Shudder, a Joe Bagos joint about a Terminator-like Santa Claus just murdering the shit out of some folks.
Well, by the time this drops, it's last Friday.
Last Friday, it is already out. You can listen.
Oh,
That's right.
Well, you said this.
No,
Friday.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is
I am
whew.
correct.
It came out the 23rd.
Yeah, last Friday.
It has been.
This is how much better we've gotten
I'm
over the
speaking
year
from the
2022.
future.
This is what happens when we record in advance. I can't
Yeah.
do dates. So yeah, that's going to be available for you on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. We have a shitload on there. We add to it every single month. And also, if you do sign up for that level, you get an RSS feed emailed to you that you can drop into your podcatcher of choice. So you can listen to all those bonus episodes wherever you want to, not just on Patreon. So it's super convenient.
Hell yeah.
There you go there. That I believe is all I have. Do you guys have anything that we've already done or are about to do in the future that you want to talk about?
Well, so last week I had a brand new YouTube video that came out with Nicole from Light and Shadow. We were talking about A Christmas Carol, which is part of our YouTube exclusive reviews under the name Creature Comforts.
Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. So check that out and show Nicole some love. And other than that, my house is clean.
Hell yeah. I have nothing. I intend to have nothing for a long time.
Yes.
Squeaky clean.
Oh.
His house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're going to start with our top 10 of 2022. We're going to start at number 10, work our way up to number 1. Let's if we have repeats too, we're going to kind of keep it brief until we circle back and find whoever ranked that movie the highest, and then we'll have a full-blown conversation about it. So if we're a little bit brief on a movie, that just means we're coming back to it later on.
Keeping the beat. Keeping the beat.
Exactly. These are also, to be clear, not like we're not trying to say these are the 10 best crafted horror movies of the year, you motherfuckers. It's a definitive list. No, it's just the shit that we enjoyed the most, that we like the most.
Speak for yourself.
We want to talk about the most.
Yeah, I'll fight
I'm-
somebody.
I'm uniquely
fight.
qualified to tell people what the best movies were objectively.
Yeah,
And I intend to do
That's
so.
true.
I've written a thesis.
So,
Hey,
what? Fuck you.
Oh, fuck you.
In that case, since Randy Pants is big man on campus again, let's let him start off.
Randy
Ooh.
Pants.
It's so Randy in them pants.
Dude, that's wow.
No, he is.
Man.
All right.
No, he is. Yeah, Randy, kick us off. What's your number? 10
Sure, I'll kick
spot
this
for the
off.
year?
I'm curious to know if this made your list or not.
Yeah, this is gonna be wild. I'm
This is-
excited.
Yeah.
Before we go, like preface with Juice, you
Let's
kind of called it
preface.
midway through the year when you started making your list, kind of in an early
Mhm.
round of your list, that this year is like just chock full of movies that are mostly at least decent to good.
Yeah, a lot of
then
3.5s in there.
A lot of 3.5s to 4s, I would say. Like this was a solid year for
Yeah.
good solid movies in the horror genre. So it was really competitive to even get in the top 10. And not that competitive for the bottom 5 that I put together. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's
I agree.
actually like I didn't watch as much as as many as either of you guys did. I watched, I think, 39 total.
Close, close.
So I mean, but still, like this, it's a tough one. It's a squeaker this year, which is why I'm going to start my list with number 10 being Jordan Peele's Nope. Anybody else have that on your
Ooh.
list?
Oh, I got it, baby.
I got it
You
as
got
well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm
well, we can-
surprised. I'm surprised you have it at 10, Randy. Why did you put it at that spot?
I put it there. Honestly, it's just a matter of me weighing one movie versus another over and over and over again until I cannot see a reason to move it again.
Mhm.
And then an hour later, I'll see a reason to move it again. So it
Yeah.
spent time in slot 5 through
Yeah.
10 through the entire month and a half I've been trying to put this thing together. So
I gotcha.
it's kind of tough to explain, but I just think that there are some other movies that sort of like surprised me maybe a little bit more, or
Okay.
otherwise had like maybe stronger stylistic substance to them that I liked.
Mhm.
But I think it's still a pretty damn solid movie for him. I think I said on our review that it's my 3rd favorite still, and I think that seems to be the
Mhm.
going rate for most people.
Okay.
So it doesn't quite reach the elevation of his other work, but it's still pretty damn good. It still beat out another fucking 39 movies on my
Yeah.
list. So
Impressive.
All right.
Juice, what's your number 10 spot?
So this one, per usual, was fighting with like
Mhm.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Honestly, I feel like any of these could have taken it. But I ultimately ended on The Innocents. Did anybody else
Ooh.
have this one on their list?
No,
not
almost.
I.
No, okay. This was a squeaker. It was very close. I saw it a lot later than you guys. I still don't think I've listened to your mini cast on it. I need to go back and do that.
Thanks, man.
But I watched it. I think as soon as I got back to the States and I could actually access Shudder again and watch it with the full subtitles and everything. And I really liked it. The kids did a really good job, and they make some kids do some really disturbing things. But they also play with the idea of, like the sisters and her disability and kind of like relying on each other. It had a lot of heart, but it had a lot of brutality, naive brutality that was very disturbing. And it's kind of got this under your skin of like, there's nothing you could do, even if you were an adult that knew what was going on, even if she like told her parents or something. They couldn't do anything. And I just thought the kids in this, everybody did a good job. It had a lot of heart. There's some moments that like really kind of punched me in the gut. And so it gave me a lot of different feels. And I thought it was done really well. Ending was like just a little bit weak. It's just tad bit weak. But overall, yeah, it kind of earned my 10 spot, I think.
It's a good
It's
pick.
interesting.
Yeah.
Bob, where did it fall on your list, if I may ask?
It did not make my list, but
Well, I mean, like, I don't know if you have a broader list. I guess maybe you don't.
no, I do. I was gonna put it in my honorable mentions. I might remove
Oh,
it now
okay.
because we're already talking about it. But the only reason it's not in my top 10 is because it was so unpleasant to watch.
Sure.
I don't
got a couple
ever
of
want to
those.
watch it again.
I got a couple of those.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
it's good. It's very good.
Yeah, I wound up with it being 25 on my list. So it
Wow,
actually
okay.
it was pretty low down there, which is like kind of again, and this is again a movie that I did enjoy. So a
Mhm.
testament to the quality of the year
Strong
overall.
year.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's that ending, like you mentioned, it bothered me a little bit more than it sounds
Mhm.
like it did you. I mean, quite a bit more maybe, but it just didn't feel like it landed anywhere that made me ponder what the movie's overall point is or whatever. I don't know. I didn't feel like I connected with the movie the way I have other movies this year. And
That
a
makes
lot
sense,
a
yeah.
lot of the uniqueness of it, it comes down to like one thing that's unique about it, which is that it's the title. It's like the idea of innocence and like, being able to see how innocence can be dangerous to a certain extent. Like that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
like being innocent is not necessarily a state of being good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what's interesting and unique about it. But to me, that wasn't a strong enough nugget to really make this somewhat slower movie that's not quite as focused as I would like. I don't know. It fell for me after like weighing it against a few other movies that just had some like maybe one or two things that really just stuck out a little bit stronger for me.
Mhm.
So,
Gotcha.
but a lot of people love it, and I think it's worthy of praise.
Yeah.
For sure.
Bob, number 10.
My number 10 spot is going to go to Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon.
Oh,
I did not see this one.
That's not on my list.
It's
Up
I
that high.
haven't
It's
been
not
able to
top 10
watch
anyway.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the latest feature-length movie from Anna Lily Amirpour,
Okay. Yeah.
who also recently did episode 4 of Cabinet of Curiosities that came out this year,
Yeah.
and then Girl Walks Home Alone at Night and The Bad Batch previously.
Mhm.
Rainey and I got to watch the stateside premiere of this in New Orleans, and the movie
Wow.
itself is set in New Orleans. And Amirpour was there and like gave a short little talkie and introduced the movie and stuff. Super cool. I'm definitely down with movies that are set in New Orleans. This one, I hemmed and hawed about putting it on my list because it's more of like I think a science fiction movie than it is like an outright horror movie. It starts off pretty horrific. But then it kind of cools down from there. It's about this girl. She's got like telekinetic abilities, and she's in this mental institution. She breaks out and has like this wild couple days in New Orleans, and she meets up with a stripper, and they get like into various trouble.
Various trouble.
The cinematography is fucking really great. It stands out like it does in just about everything that Amirpour does. The soundtrack is fantastic. Craig Robinson is also in this. He plays like a police officer. And the acting just across the board is really great. It's a fun ass movie. I really dig the setting and the atmosphere of it, and just like the weird kind of vibe it
Mhm.
has.
Yeah,
It's a good one. I like it.
So let me ask a question. You saw this in the festival. Does it have any kind of wide release? Like, can it be rented now?
Yeah, you can rent it, and
Okay.
it's on Blu-ray.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure
may
it
have
was
seen it on
accessible.
HBO Max as well, but I could be wrong about that.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll add it to my movies to check out before the end of the
Yeah.
year. Then
Yeah, it's good
cool.
shit.
And like
Good.
this landed at number 22 for me, and the reason
Alrighty.
being, like, you know, I think I agree that what I really loved about this movie is it's like somewhat unique take on like the grungier aspects of modern day New Orleans.
Mhm.
The setting really sung in this movie. And I would say that the story was a little bit muddled to me. I just kind of feel like it was kind of aimless through a lot of it. And again, I wasn't really sure what was like really truly what that was really being taken aim at. So to me, that's where things sort of like didn't necessarily work. It didn't fall too short because I enjoyed the moments of the movie, but how they like interact with each other, how they interlock, was a little bit flimsy to me. So that's kind of the big thing for me. But otherwise, like stylistically, it's a pretty fucking interesting movie. It is not very much of a horror movie. I also hemmed and
Yeah.
hawed whether or not it
Yeah.
belonged on this list. I don't even know if it's sci-fi. It's kind of like starts as horror sci-fi and then just like pretty quickly changes gears to just a drama, almost like a comedy drama. Like, I don't know. It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, there's like telekinetic shit happening throughout the entire movie, though. I mean, it definitely is more of a drama, but there's like,
Is
you
there?
know,
I don't remember
supernatural
a
shit
ton
happening.
of supernatural stuff happening, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
you've probably seen it again recently. I
I
assume.
watched it again this week just to like
So
get a
yeah, you probably have it
refresher.
fresher.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
So Randy, that brings us to your number 9. What you got?
Number 9. This one moved up and down my list like a goddamn jackrabbit over and over again, and it's Deadstream, which
Yeah.
did this make either of your lists?
It's not on mine.
It's so close again.
It
so,
is close.
So go ahead.
It's close.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
This one, like this movie to me is like ultimately like a pretty fucking fun found footage horror movie that really works hard to nail its conceit on the outset, which I appreciate. We talked about that quite a bit when it was brought up in the past. I just really like that about it. I think that the performance of the lead guy is like appropriately annoying and irritating. The thing that like I was a little bit unsure about was how he interacts with. I'm trying to dodge spoilers here, but how he interacts with certain aspects of where he is. Certain things that happen later on in the story to me are a little bit like, I don't know, a little hammed up a little bit too much for my liking, to where it's like I feel like it's like a few crotch punches away from being a lot dumber of a movie than it ultimately is.
Yeah,
So-
I will say there was a character in there. I loved his performance. There was another character in there that dropped it a couple spots for me.
Same.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it's tough to even rationalize why without going back and doing a rewatch.
Yeah.
But it just ultimately felt like it was putting too much weight on the structure that they outlined. Like they could hang quite a bit of logistical structure on the things that they built at the beginning, but story wise, I don't know if it really fully supported that character arc that you're talking about. So yeah, it's not perfect, but I did enjoy it, and I think it was a really amusing movie that does a great job. And I'm a found footage sucker, as I always mentioned. So to me, it just kind of speaks.
It was fun. It was a fun movie. I was pleasantly surprised by it.
I appreciate so much like the great lengths they take at the very beginning of the movie to like explain every single camera angle you're about to see and how it's possible. Now he has his own soundtrack that he made for the evening.
The little
And like
tape
they
player.
cover all the bases, and I appreciate that so much. It's
Mhm.
so well thought out, man. Really cool.
It's
Yeah.
it's because those are the things that's so easy to cinema sins your way into
Yeah.
poking holes into, and it's
Mhm.
just not like you can kind of. I almost get like preemptive groaning, not because the movie doesn't explain everything perfectly, but because I can hear people poo-pooing the movie on that basis in the future. I can already hear it happening as I'm watching. I'm like, God, if they could just like nail these things down so people could shut up about the little bullshit like this,
Yeah.
we can actually talk about the story and the characters and things. And this movie, it does let you ruminate on the things that matter, basically.
Yeah, solid pick.
Yeah.
Juice.
How about you?
Number 9.
Number 9 was Prey. Did this make to the top 10 for anybody?
11 for me.
Didn't make my list.
It didn't. Okay. So actually, this is one that has stayed in the top 10 since I watched it. It was a little bit higher and some things knocked it down. So it's ultimately made it to number 9. But a lot of it, like Bob was saying, there's so many good movies and a lot of them are very kind of thought-provoking that didn't ultimately make the top 10 for some reason or another, maybe unpleasantness or a little too slow burn or a bad ending. So I was really trying to pick some of the movies that I really just enjoyed a lot this year or struck me in a certain way. And I remember seeing the poster for Prey when it came out. And I was thinking to myself, don't get too hyped, but this idea of being able to take this franchise, which I kind of consider in the trash. I'm not a big Predator guy, but I'm no Predator Bob over here, but
you wish.
But I just where I considered it was kind of low ranks of just these sequels coming out that nobody really kind of gives a shit about, that are low quality, direct to streaming or whatever. And then this comes out and I just thought it was very clever. And they delivered on the idea that they set up to essentially get me interested in this franchise that I otherwise had no interest in. And it was very entertaining to me. And so for those aspects, like pulling a long-running horror franchise out of the dirt is tough. It's tough to do it. And I gotta respect the swerve and the kind of different take to bring this alive. And I just had a lot of fun with the movie. It's got a lot of cool action. I really do love horror action movies as well. We don't get a lot of those these days. And so I really kind of respected what this movie is trying to do and accomplished ultimately.
Yeah.
Solid. Yeah, it's fun, man. It was a really like lovely surprise that a movie like of that high a caliber just popped up on Hulu, and that like they put as much thought in it as they did. I'm blanking on the name of the director. He did the same thing with another franchise and like resurrected it with like a fresh coat of paint. Trachtenberg, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Taking like a little clever idea. Yeah,
just
good for him.
Just kind of killing it. It's a fun ass movie. I don't love the Predator franchise in any way, but like that one was really well thought out. It was fun.
Yeah.
See, like I guess I'm the outlier because I grew up loving Predator as
okay.
Not necessarily the franchise, but I love that first movie. I really liked the second one. The others I enjoyed as action movies. I recognize even as a kid that they weren't, up to snuff. But I was always really interested in like the deadliest game of it all. You know what I mean? It's the thing is like the original is such a simple tale that could be in any I don't know, Isaac Asimov novella or some shit. Like it's just straight up fucking good sci-fi that doesn't need a lot of bells and whistles to be good. And Prey got back to that. And that seems like Trachtenberg's strong suit because 10 Cloverfield Lane was the same thing. They did not spend a lot of time like trying to expose a lot of lore that ultimately just harms the feeling of immersion that you have in these films. So I really appreciate it. The thing that kind of knocked it down a little bit for me was a little bit janky on the effects. It was a little bit lower budget of a film compared to some of our other ones on the list. And that took it down. But I think that ultimately the performances and the other thing is like, as much as I like having just sort of like a base story that has, a little bit of subtext, but it's very clear what it's going for, is that it also doesn't leave you a lot to chew on. And I kind of missed that a little bit. So ultimately a good movie.
Fair points.
Let me slide in with my number 9.
I'll have number 9. What you got?
I got Terrifier 2 at my number 9 spot.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
I am shocked.
Did you watch?
You liked it at all?
Did you watch this one, Randy?
No, I never did.
You definitely did.
I watched it.
Okay, so I think this movie is like exciting in a way because it's like very low budget, very much an independent, like homemade horror movie, like labor of love. I think it was made on like $200,000 or something like that, and it got like a very limited theatrical release, and it grossed over $10 million. It was supposed to be in theaters for like 2 weeks or something, and it went to like 3, 4, 6 weeks. They just kept adding time because people kept showing up for it, and I think it's really extra cool because it's unrated and it's playing in theaters, or at least it was, which is something that just doesn't ever happen. It reminds me of the Hatchet franchise, where like the first movie was like Adam Green's baby, homegrown, low budget, independent horror movie, and the second one he released unrated in the theaters. It didn't make it a week. The theaters like panicked and pulled it, and like it just got shelved. Like nobody was able to see it, which fucking sucks. But like this time it worked out. Like they didn't stutter step. Nobody pulled it out of theaters. Even this movie is like way more difficult to watch than Hatchet 2, by the way. This is the gore in this is next level. Some of the best effects I definitely saw all year, hands down. Damien Leone, the director, is the special effects guy, so like he does all the shit himself, which obviously costs a lot less money, so he can afford to do that kind of thing. I still think Art is like one of the most memorable like new slashers, new horror villains in recent memory. It's I don't know, like I think he's gonna stand the test of time. They definitely added like more story and like some new characters. There's like a new final girl that is pretty badass. I think they definitely added a little too much of everything, though. I think he like swung a little bit too big, swung for the fences a little too much. It's like pushing.
Use a fucking use a machine gun this time.
Yeah, yes, actually.
Of course. I don't know why I said that jokingly. Why would that be a joke? with this
Amongst-
Brand
franchise?
news.
Amongst other things.
Oh man.
I think there's just like a little bit too much like fluff all around, not just speaking of the gore, but the movie's just, it's a little too long. It's got a little too much story, a little bit, they're laying like a little too much groundwork, I think. But there's also like, they're introducing a lot of like really interesting supernatural ideas in this movie that help set the character of Art apart from any other slasher I've ever seen. Like, I guess the closest that he might be related to is like maybe Freddy Krueger, I guess, but like not even really that. Freddy's kind of his own thing. They're just adding a lot to his lore and stuff that they're going to continue to expand upon. I'm sure they're going to make a third movie. It's just cool. It's exciting. It's not like obviously my favorite movie of the year, my favorite slasher ever, but I just like that there's a success happening for this like really low budget independent movie happening. So yeah, I dig it. Check it out.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Randy.
Just didn't make it on your list at all. Or
I mean,
anywhere-
it's
anywhere
I
down
put
the list?
every movie I've watched on my
Okay.
list, so it's
Yeah, same
on
here.
my list. But
Okay.
not
It's not
one
top
you would mention tonight.
so at the time of this recording, I have watched 46 movies. I don't want to give it away because we might do another little thing.
Yeah.
But I will say it's somewhere somewhere between 20 and 30.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So
yeah,
top half.
Isn't that movie almost 3 hours
Ish.
long? Am I wrong about
it's
that?
like 2
Oh,
hours and
yeah.
20 minutes. It's long. It's a long.
It's long.
movie.
It's
Yeah,
too
that's-
long for sure.
Any
It is too long.
slasher
I
that's
agree.
like on the basis of like this is a vehicle for gore and silliness doesn't need to be that long in my
No.
opinion. That's the
And
thing that
this
puts me out
does
to
not
watching
need
it,
to be that
honestly.
long.
And I did
I
not
agree,
like
yeah.
Terrifier 1, but I would definitely watch it again on the basis of it being a good DIY,
Yeah.
low budget thing that is having success. I like that. I want it to happen more. I want to be a part of that success for them, even if I don't love the franchise. But man, they're asking a lot for 2.5 hours of my time.
Yeah.
They
Um,
do.
It's a lot.
so
They
yeah,
push
okay.
their luck for sure.
It's a lot. That's my number 9 though. Terrifier 2. Randy, coming in at your number 8. What do you got?
My number 8, I would be a little bit surprised if either of you guys placed this one under top 10, was Crimes of the Future, the Cronenbergian
Dude, it
joint.
was close.
Yeah?
It was one
I'm
of those
surprised.
ones fighting for 10.
Not
so
on my
close.
list.
It was on
Not
my
on
top
your
10
list.
for a long time.
It's a fucking interesting goddamn movie. And here's the thing, is like genre mashing, like with Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon, for example. We talked about how it mashes genres a little bit. And I felt like it was like it did that okay, but it was a little like, I don't know, it didn't feel natural enough for me of a change. Like the tonal change it gives you a whiplash. And then with this movie, though, the genre blending, I didn't fully understand what genres were being put together until the end. But once I realized what they were, what it really was, not the end, but like probably midway through, once I realized what was being put together on my screen, I was like, oh yeah, this all hangs together perfectly. It's this like fucking film noir slash body horror slash fucking like high concept sci-fi. I just fucking love that shit. At Cronenberg, really, like the way that he visualizes body horror is, of course, goes without saying, very iconic and brilliant in my opinion. I know that you guys, I think if I, at least one of you guys had mentioned that you didn't like the way some of the machinery looks in this.
I said
I
that.
thought-
Yeah.
I felt the opposite, and the more I think about it, the more I like it, because it is. I think of it like H.R. Geiger's stuff, on which, you know, Aliens
Yeah.
is based. You don't worry about where the pipe is going or what it's carrying, if it's going in and out of like an alien head. And I don't really care, you know, that these things look like centipedes that are crawling. Like, that's a stylistic choice. It's very much a choice. And I think it's pretty fucking interesting of a choice to see this future where the biology and technology have combined on this weird level where a CAT scan machine looks like a goddamn millipede. Ultimately, I think that the story is interesting enough. I think it kind of has a little bit of length problem too, the more I look back on it. But the performances are solid. The fucking quality of the effects is top notch. And the story itself is pretty compelling, like true hard sci-fi, I think. So it gets a lot of praise from me for all of
So
that.
hard.
And lots of Yabu, so
Yeah.
Soju likes it.
Wildly
Yeah,
unnecessary.
and a chest pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Sweet. Juice, you're number 8. What you got?
Number 8 is Booties.
What?
AKA
Ah,
Bodies,
Jesus.
Bodies. I still haven't listened to y'all's mini cast on that. Did it make y'all's top 10? I'm guessing no.
No.
Okay. So I just watched this within the past 2 weeks, so maybe coming off a little bit of recency bias, but I also went into this going like pretty low. I put it watching it off for a long time because I thought it was going to be so like either mediocre or poor, and there was just a lot of movies to watch. So once I was finally getting close to this episode, I was like, I gotta watch Bodies. Threw it on. I had a lot of fun with it. Again, this is one of those movies that it was very fun to me. And what it kind of reminded me of, one, whodunits aren't necessarily that popular anymore. We do have some, and some that are doing
coming
it
back.
well. Yeah. We had Knives Out come out not too long ago. Those Perot movies have been like coming out. And so you know, it's kind of making a comeback, but what this kind of reminded me of was some of those teen movies from the 90s, like a little bit of some Scream in there and things like that. And I know the characters are really overdone and kind of reflect the worst kind of parts of this young generation, but I don't know. Yeah, my generation. I don't know. It was a lot of fun to me, and I found myself, even for a whodunit, I wasn't trying so hard to figure out like who it was or whatever. I was along for this ride, and I liked the aesthetic, and I like the beat for beat moves. And then the ending came around, and I just thought, what a fun experience that was. I really did. And I thought the acting was good, even though some of them are, you know, quite obnoxious, but I just thought it was tight and like well put together and well crafted and acted, and on top of that, fun as well. So yeah, I like Bodies.
Yeah,
Number
it's yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what we said in the minicast, but for me, I mean, it was a little predictable for me, for one. But aside from that, like, I understand that what they were going for was like Twitter in real life is basically what it was, and the people were talking as if they were having Twitter arguments the whole time. And while I understand that conceit, and I appreciate that that's ultimately leading to this ending that seems to point out the nihilistic, you know, nonsense that it is, I understand what it's going for, all that stuff, but it really just was too obnoxious for me to enjoy to a certain extent.
I didn't find it so obnoxious. There was 2 characters that were supposed to be obnoxious, and one of them isn't in the movie that long.
Yeah,
found
I
it to
think
just-
that more of them were.
Okay.
I thought it was just sort of underwhelming generally. Like the idea of having this murder mystery happen in the midst of a hurricane party sounded so fucking cool to me.
Yeah.
And then like
It's a
what
good
actually plays out is just not very interesting. It's kind
Man,
of boring.
I thought they delivered on that premise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't hit for me. I don't hate it by any means. It just didn't. I didn't find it as intriguing as I thought.
What
I might.
range do you think it's in?
Of my overall the year.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing like 67 movies of new releases,
God damn.
new horror movies this year.
Top half or bottom half?
It's probably like right in the middle.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Mine's 26 for me, so like
Okay.
pretty low on my list. Shot, but like again, it's another one of those things where like as much as I've just criticized it, I still didn't have the worst time ever because I do think that like the setting helped carry it through. It looked visually pretty great. So yeah, it's still a good movie. It's just there's a lot of competition this year, and
There
there's
is.
things like
There
like a
is.
couple of obnoxious characters will
I-
take you down a few pegs.
And you know what's interesting? Just a quick look at my like 10 to 20. There's a lot of serious movies in
Yeah.
that range, like a lot of thought-provoking, deep kind of. But because there were so many of those, watching Bodies, I was like, man, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. And then
liked it
I
on the
think
fun
that kind of bumped
basis,
it up. Yeah,
I'm
and
sure it
stood
did
out.
because it sounds like for Bob and I, we were lacking in fun quotient, so it didn't get that boost from
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Solid pick. Yo,
Mhm.
hey.
What's your next pick, buddy?
Number 8 for your boy Bob is gonna go to Barbarian.
What? We might be talking about that soon, Bob.
Do you
Yeah, I
guys
think
have it
so.
higher?
It's not. I do not. Okay.
I do.
Randy has it higher, so I will stick a pin in that, and then we will talk about it a little more down the line.
So
Randy, it
Randy.
goes to you. Number 7. What do you got for number 7?
let's talk about Barbarian.
Okay.
Just
Perfect.
kind of worked out nicely. So I chose Barbarian for this one. Barbarian is a movie that I fluctuated my opinion of quite a bit, because there are things about it that really do like kind of stick in my craw a little bit, but I just could not deny that like as many good movies as we have on this list right now, all the way down, my entire list is filled with like pretty good movies for the most part. There's not a lot of just like objectively horror movies, and I appreciated the experience of getting like a good true horror movie. There's a few, don't get me wrong, there are a few, but this one like really scratched that just like straightforward horror itch for me. And you know, it also delivered an interesting premise. It had some characters that, man, were fun to watch. I don't think at this point we consider the Justin Long of it all a spoiler, but that character made me laugh so fucking hard at how goddamn shitty he was. And watching how everything played out for our main character was really engaging, even though my biggest complaint with the movie and the biggest thing that I keep thinking about and keeps bothering me is just the decision-making skills of our lead actress, our lead character.
We might not want to talk too much about this, Randy, because we might be talking about it again very soon at length. Just throwing that out there.
That's true. All right. So long story short is it's a good fucking movie. I was appreciative that we have a strong horror movie entry to look at here, at least a few of them. And this one, while not my favorite of that ilk, it definitely, in the same way that Justin was like, oh man, bodies, that's just entertaining. It didn't really ask too much of me. That's how I feel about Barbarian, I think.
That's exactly how I feel about it. That's why it's sitting at number 8 for me. It was one of my most enjoyable theatrical watches of the year because it's impossible to foresee what's about to happen on screen. It's just like a really fun roller coaster ride, and then there's more to chew on afterwards. If you want to think about it and reflect upon it, you can do that. But overall, it was just so much fun to watch. I really had a good time with it.
This was one that was
different phases in that movie.
Yeah.
It was fighting for my top 10, like my 10 spot. It was one of those like rotational ones. And ultimately, you know, I think by the time I saw it, it had been hyped up so much that it kind of left that little bit of like, oh,
that's it.
Yeah,
I can't prove these people
I can
right.
see that.
Like I get why it was so hyped, but
Yeah.
by the time I finally experienced it, I didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes a little punch out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
but close.
Damn that hype train.
Yeah,
I try not to let the hype train get to me, but it's almost
tough.
impossible.
It can
tough.
sometimes. Yeah,
It can, yeah.
It really
Yeah.
does.
especially when you're
So-
talking about a game of inches here.
Oh yeah,
All
actually,
these
absolutely.
choices, yeah.
Yeah. This
If
year
you're just if
specifically,
there's just
you know,
one wet blanket can take down your
Yeah.
pick from 10 to 12 or something, you know.
6 to midnight. Right. So Randy's 7 was Barbarian Juice. What is your number 7?
Okay, this was a recent watch. Actually, mine is Nanny. So literally
Ooh,
just watched it because it just came out 4 days ago. But this was one that Bob specifically, it wasn't even on my radar, but Bob was like, hey, this movie's coming out. It won an award. What was it? Sundance.
Sundance,
It won, yeah, Sundance.
It won
And he
a
was-
Dancy.
Yeah. And so he was like, it might be worth a go. And it made my top 10. This movie, it was beautiful. First off, the colors and like the visuals that they use in this are fantastic. But I think it tells a very human story in a very interesting way. It's not like full-blown horror, but it plays with like some psychological aspects, some folklore aspects, some just a lot of different things that all weave together in this really pleasant package to me. And it kind of reminded me of a movie I picked a few years ago in my top 10 of the Our House or Your House, or what was that?
His
With-
house. I
His
think?
house. Yeah. One of those pronouns. His house. It kind of gave me that vibe a little bit. And I just I thought the acting was on point, the colors were on point. Oh, I'm sorry. Did anybody else?
No, you're good.
No,
No, okay, I
No.
forgot to check. Okay, nobody else put it higher.
I haven't
Okay.
seen it yet.
Okay, so I would recommend that you check it out. I love the story of it. There was something that kind of bothered me a little bit at the very end, but overall thought it was pretty solid from the beginning to the end and beautiful to look at. The colors that they use are like phenomenal, and yeah, just a really good story. I like the story of this one. Yeah.
It's a really interesting story that I hadn't seen before. I did not get to watch His House last year or whenever that came out. I forget.
I think it was 2020.
But yeah,
I need to
Nanny's
rewatch it.
Nanny's good shit. The cinematography, it looks beautiful. It's
Yeah.
a gorgeous movie. The acting is phenomenal as well. And there's a bit of really cool folklore, like Justin said. It's on Amazon Prime, so it's easy to find. If you have that, throw it on. I doubt you're gonna regret it. So, my number 7
Number 7.
is gonna go to 5 Cream.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
Does
the
anybody
Five
have
Creams.
that?
It was fine for
Ah.
my 10. It sat there for a
Yeah.
long time and just got bumped. Probably because I just
Yeah,
watched
mine-
Nanny and Bodies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine just kept getting pushed. It's all the way down to 19.
Oh, mine's mine's
Well,
close to 10.
I'll chat about it for a minute. I feel like I just generally fucking love the Scream franchise. So I mean, there's probably some bias happening here. I feel like generally speaking,
Thinking
though,
I wear the Scream mask, the mask from Scream, when I do you from behind.
Mom, is that you?
Thank you so much for making that bump.
You
He's
sent
used
me
it
that
before.
bump,
Yeah,
but-
I thought you
Did
said
I?
it.
Okay.
Yes.
Dude, okay. I've made too
Oh,
many bumps this year.
Yeah.
That's
I agree.
phenomenal. I don't know. I dig this movie quite a bit. It's got some really memorable kills. They introduced some new characters that, for the most part, are really, really well done, I think. There's I try not to do too many spoilers. I can't. The motivation at the end I thought was really smart. I know a lot of people had problems with it. But whenever the killers reveal themselves and there's like a big conversation about why, I really, really thought it was smart and well thought out. I dig it overall. They brought back a lot of legacy characters and I feel like they treated them pretty well. It's not flawless. It definitely has some problems. It's pretty damn good though for a Scream movie. I'm stoked to see what they do with the next one. I'm a little worried for 6 Scream because they really, really rushed it out. But I think that
That's quick.
this one's solid though.
Yeah.
It was a great way to start the year too. It came out in January.
Yeah, it was tough to keep it in your view with this
Yeah.
whole list forming because it's
Yeah.
so that's a year ago at this point.
Yeah.
But that is a testament though, because again, another one that hung in my top 10 until, the final days, honestly. So I like regarded it all year as like a top 10 type of film for sure. So I get you,
kind of felt
Bob.
that way too, and I was shocked when I actually went did the work and laying out my list that I was like,
Yeah.
man, this just keeps plummeting, and it's not through very little fault of its own. There's a couple of things about that movie that I can't talk about that we've definitely talked about
Yeah.
on the episode that are still just major dings for me that kept knocking it back for me.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun fucking movie, and I agree that there's some intelligence to the writing, and I definitely liked the cast of characters they brought in for this round.
Yeah. Yeah, good shit. So Scream 5 is my number 7 spot. Randy, what do you have at your number 6?
Well, I have a feeling this one's going to be on at least one of your list. It is You Won't Be Alone.
Yes,
Is it
I
on?
have it higher.
Okay, Bob.
It's not on my list.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll put a pin in it. We'll put you
We will circle.
contemptible bastard.
We'll circle back to that.
Are you calling a cootie queen, you lint liquor?
All right, Lint Lickers. Let's put a pin on it, and we'll give it to Juice to give us his what is it, number 6?
Number 6.
Well, this is the point where this episode gets a little complicated because we're going to start jumping around a lot. I've finally gotten to Nope.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Is it still higher?
It is higher on
We're
mine.
still going higher, so we can't talk about You Won't Be Alone or Nope yet.
Not yet.
All right. Bob, number, where are we at? 6.
6 for Bob. I got The Black Phone.
Nope.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. Okay.
Wow.
I like this movie.
Wow.
I like this movie quite a bit.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought
the condescension is dripping.
Wow.
Oh.
All right.
I feel like among the movies that I'm probably gonna have on my list, this one has probably the highest possibility of like a crossover. Like I feel like a lot of normies check this out and we're really into it. Like not people that are just going to watch every single fucking horror movie that comes out.
Not bodies.
Not booties. But The Black Phone, the child acting is like through the roof, fucking fantastic in this. I really thought they did a great job. Ethan Hawke as the killer is extremely terrifying, even though you never really see his face. I think the mask design, the thing that he's wearing, is the most memorable like mask probably since Scream that I can think of. Like it's just an extremely haunting,
that seems
badass
fair.
design. It's like set in the 70s, and I think they did a really good job at like capturing the feel of the 70s, like what it might feel like to be a kid in the 70s. I feel like they did a good job with that. And the ending is a little too like cookie cutter neat for sure. But when it all goes down, I was still like really impacted by the end of the movie. It's not a flawless victory, but I thought it was really well done and like really enjoyable. And definitely a movie that I want to watch again in the future. So I thought The Black Phone was pretty damn solid for myself.
Juice, what quadrant of your list does this fall in?
This literally, the whole year was my ultimate medium film.
Ah.
It always it really was kind of like my cornerstone of, is it going to go in the higher quadrant or the lower quadrant?
Better than Black Phone, worse than Black.
Kind of, yeah. It was the ultimate. So it's always been never in the top 10, not at any point. It was always that point where I was like putting things a little bit higher, a little bit lower, something like that. But yeah, I thought this movie was stretched too thin. We talk about in our episode, this movie feels like it's got some iconic things in it, but it's stretched so thin and desperately padded out to where it lost a lot of the impact on the things that should have stood out to me. That's how I felt. Randy,
Yeah,
where was yours kind of sitting?
I don't even remember what tone I struck with this movie. I think I was pretty positive to this movie when we reviewed it.
Yeah.
And over time, its rep in my mind has sunk, and not because it's like got egregious issues, but it doesn't have. It feels like the story is not fully polished to me.
Yeah.
To where it feels like there's loose ends that or like that didn't need to be there, or that could have been wrapped up differently. And it kind of has this feeling of like, the way that it ends, and I don't want to like go too spoilery, but there's sort of like a come to Jesus moment, let's say, where things kind of click. And that, the more I look back on it, the more that kind of felt forced and a little bit like it was just, I don't know. It just felt forced, I guess. And the more I look at it now, the more I'm just sort of like, it did great at place setting. The kid actors did great. Ethan Hawke did okay. He was kind of like a bizarre situation for him to be semi behind a mask. The mask was iconic. It's got a lot of things going
Kevin
for it.
Bacon.
They're the same. They're the same, as we found out this year.
Yeah.
Yes. Shouts outs to Lomang. Yeah, I think that that really sums it up, I guess. Is it just those, as many good things as it had going for it, it just didn't, the most important part of it to me would have been the story and the arc that happens, and I just am not entirely sure that sticks that at all.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just hit higher for me for whatever reason.
Cool.
Sure.
Yeah, my number 6 was The Black Phone. Moving on to number 5, Randu. What do you have?
So this one took me by surprise, and I'm genuinely have no idea if you guys have this on your list or not. Soft and Quiet. Soft and Quiet.
No.
I did not
No.
watch that. So
I did.
No.
But no.
Justin, I know you had a very visceral reaction to this movie. And the thing is, I kind of did too. And that's what kept elevating it for me, is like, no movie that I saw this year that I can think of really hit this actual like real life terror button quite like this movie did. I don't want to say too much about it for those, because I feel like it's not
a big
widely known
surprise. It
movie.
was completely surprising to me about
Absolutely.
what it
And
was about. Yeah.
And it's impossible to. I kind of got a little bit of that spoiled for me, but I was watching alongside Becky and watching their reaction to the big reveal of like what truly is happening in this movie.
There's a moment,
hilarious.
like a pan
There's
moment.
Yeah.
And you're like,
And-
what the fuck?
Yeah,
Making
exactly.
me want to
And
watch this now.
You
so
should.
like two things that I can say about this movie are, one, that it plays on some very real, very, very real fears, modern and legacy fears for Americans, and probably beyond that too. And the other thing is that this movie is one of those movies that does the long continuous shot throughout.
Yeah.
So if you're
It's
into
like
that sort of
real
thing, I know it's kind of,
Okay.
yeah, it's real time. It's really fucking good at doing that. I had to look really hard to find the seams. I don't usually try to find the seams, but this time I was like, man, I only caught one of them that I'm pretty confident was a seam. And so like it's just
yeah.
they hide it well, and like the acting in it is pretty damn good. And man, I felt some serious emotions about this film. I don't want to say more than that, but rage was among them. So and that was intentionally so. It's not something that I was just like, this movie sucks, what the fuck? It was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, this movie's making me feel mad.
Is that streaming anywhere?
Where did I watch? I think I rented
yeah.
it.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll look for
Okay.
you.
Gotcha.
But so the thing you said about the innocence, this actually surprisingly, so I agree, it's well done. This was the most unpleasant watch I had this year. And not to
It's
say
easy to see why.
it's because it's effective, but in that, I absolutely in no context ever want to watch this again. It literally, like the scenes that we're playing out of, like, this is what's going down, were making me physically nauseous. Like more than like a Terrifier that's really trying to lay it on thick and stuff.
Yeah.
And for that, I can absolutely 100% respect the craft of this film and the message it's trying to tell, but there is 0% enjoyability for me of
That's
this.
absolutely fair. And I felt like that was what you were hung up on when we talked about it very lightly, is like it's hard to watch because it's effective, and because it's effective, it's certainly hard to rewatch.
Yeah.
But man, it got my engines purring watching this thing, and I was like,
dude, that pan, I know exactly
for a little bit.
The best, it's hard because we're hyping it up, because I was
don't
going
wanna
through a
overhype it
list
either.
and I was
It's-
like,
yeah.
okay, what is this Soft and Quiet? And threw it on like one night, and then I recommended it the next week, and Randy then watched it. And so we kind of went in with pretty, like, not knowing
blind.
anything about it. Yeah.
So
So
I mean,
be careful.
that's the
Be
ideal
careful,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, don't let us overhype it. It's not going to hit everybody the same, obviously. And some people are gonna have a real chip on their shoulder about this movie.
Sure, yeah.
But boy, we'll talk about that another day.
All right,
Juice, how about your number 5?
Yeah, what do you got?
Oh, The Menu. Anybody
The
else?
Menu.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I got it on there.
It's also
Higher.
Higher.
It's also my number.
Okay, so
5,
it's Rob's
actually.
number 5.
Oh,
So
well, it's higher for me.
Stick a pen in that.
okay, stick a pen in it.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, so is it back to me?
Yeah. So
Yeah, back to
Juice
Randy.
and I both have the Menu at 5. Ray and Deuce, what do you have at your number 4?
My number 4, and this is going to fall into the hard horror genre category, is Ty West's X. I quite enjoyed this film. This movie is, I think we said this at the time, a far better.
Oh wait.
I have it higher.
He has it higher.
I'm sorry. I
We're
didn't
doing
check.
the
My
this
fault.
is that when it gets down to the top one, it's like so tight. That's why this format's kind of
Yeah.
weird, but
Yeah.
okay.
So Randy's
my number
four.
4.
Is X.
Yes.
Juice. What
Juice.
is your number 4?
It is X. So now
Hey.
I'm like I have to keep in mind what movies I need to talk
It'll come
about. There's
back.
like
This is
4
like playing
of them.
Uno with all skip cards.
Exactly.
It'll
Yeah.
come back around.
So Bob, what is your number 4?
my number 4 is Watcher.
Watcher, really?
Yes.
With Micah Monroe?
Yes, that is the movie I am referencing.
Interesting. It's
okay.
not on my top 10. It
Alright.
is
It's
It
not
is
my
further
top
down
10.
my
It
list.
was it's not too far off.
Okay.
But it
it's
wasn't in
32 for me.
serious contention, but
Okay.
it's not far off.
I thought this movie was extremely effective.
Micah Monroe.
And yeah, I thought it was like an extremely economic movie that manages to do quite a lot with a very, very little. It's about this woman and her husband. They moved to Russia, I think. Or
No, it's like Bulgaria or
Bulgaria?
something. It's one of the yeah.
I think it is
Uh,
Bulgaria.
Yeah.
her husband gets a job. They relocate for it. She can't speak the language, so she's very isolated. He goes off at work. She's home alone. She gets the feeling that she's being watched and followed throughout the town, and like nobody's really believing her, taking her seriously and stuff. And shit sort of spirals out from there. There's like this really thick, consistent feeling of like dread. I think like the movie itself is completely carried on the shoulders of Micah. It's just like a really solid movie. I don't like it, just for whatever reason it hit.
It movie
it-
good.
It movied really well. The ending is like surprising too. Maybe it wasn't surprising to everybody, but I was shocked by the ending. I don't know. It's super creepy and effective. I don't know. I dug it. It hit for me, for your boy.
Yeah, it's number 32 on my list.
Wow, that's see now. So it's much higher than me. It's in my teens, but there were some things that really resonated with me though that I felt kind of carried that, where I was like, I know I've felt it a lot to be like, if shit goes down or something bad happened, I can't clearly talk to anybody. I feel alone. I feel isolated. But to me, to go to your point, well, the thing that kind of dropped it out of the top 10 was it was way too predictable.
Really? Okay.
I thought that they were very economic with their choices, and it was fun to explore the city and this new place, and those were cool choices. But I didn't feel like there was any kind of swerve. I just felt like they kind of telegraphed something, and then they wanted to trick you into thinking that's not what it was, but that's what it was.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
absolutely my biggest complaint too. But I would put it in the terms like it felt like a movie I've seen 100 times before is honestly the truth. I loved the performance by Micah Monroe as
Yeah,
like
she did a
anybody.
good job.
Like she's a great actress, and I really like seeing her and stuff, especially as a lead. Because she can carry that weight, like you said. But the thing is, there wasn't a lot of weight to carry in this one. I don't feel like there was. I don't know. It felt like a newsstand airport book purchase. You know what I mean? Like just a pulp book. Which there's a few movies like that on my down the horror, the 40 whatever movie list that I have that are just feel like, this is an okay story, but I don't know if it really goes anywhere, and it doesn't do anything that surprising. And honestly, I'm sitting here trying to remember what her husband looked like, and I can't do it. It's not very memorable. It just sort of slid off of me.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Yeah.
Well, that's my number 4, Watcher.
Yeah. Sorry to shit on
Randy.
your parade, Bob.
Randy, what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me is Piggy. Who here has
I
seen
haven't
Piggy?
got a chance to watch it. It's on my watch before the end of the year list.
Okay.
Not
Bob,
on
I know you
mine.
saw it.
Yeah, it's
Not on
not on
yours.
my list.
So I really enjoyed this movie. We watched this also at the Overlook Film Festival. It was my favorite of the festival that we saw. I just honestly like I really connected with this character. I guess like as a kid who grew up fat and watching this girl get bullied for being fat, and then seeing like this culture that was completely unforgiving towards that and towards her in general. And I don't know, man. It just really it worked for me in a way that maybe it doesn't for everybody because of like lived experience. But at the same time, I think it was just really fucking well crafted, and it really had this interesting like it had an interesting take on that story. We've seen 100 movies about kids being bullied and bad things go awry, but this goes awry in a way that's just like complete like crazy happenstance shit is going on that just throws this girl's entire world into flux. I don't know. I was just really invested in that lead character a lot, and I can remember every beat of this movie. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say beyond that. I just really loved it.
This movie, again, like I enjoyed it. I thought it had like a really interesting idea that it was playing with. It's not enjoyable whatsoever to watch, though. That's like I never want to see it again. That's why it's
I would
really
watch it again.
not on my list. I do think after watching Halloween Ends, this movie is playing with a lot of similar ideas that David Gordon Green was trying to get at with Halloween Ends, and I think this movie does it a hell of a lot better than he was able to. Yeah, no way. Can you imagine somebody doing something better than Halloween Ends? But I don't know if you watch it for that, if nothing else.
Your mileage may vary, but it's a fucking effective movie to me.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's real fucked up.
It is fucked up.
It's fucked up.
Juice,
So, yeah,
Juice, what do you got for number
three?
My number 3 is Fresh. Anybody?
That's my number 3.
Number 3, Randus.
Nope, not for me.
Okay, so I'll kick it off. Fresh. This was one that came in early for this year when we were coming off the lull of the last year, 2021. And we had Five Cream, which was also a pleasant surprise. But this was an original kind of story. Very clever. I was really hung up on the like cleverness of being a piece of meat taken literally. I thought the performances were great. I love the aesthetic and the setting were great. And then also some really emotional gut punch moments that have still stuck with me that sometimes just like flash across my mind of we don't want to like spoil too much, but like when we see some people's possessions and you see their faces and they're actually connected, like where some people just view them as things or property or something, and then they're given a soul and they're given like a face. And man, it just like really, really, really stuck with me. I thought this movie was very clever. I am a sucker for a clever premise pulled off really well. So yeah, Fresh was number 3 for me.
Yeah, this was another like really pleasant surprise that just showed up on Hulu randomly.
Yeah,
Hulu again.
Killing it, Hulu.
Like holy shit, this is such a great movie for streaming. It was shot so beautifully. Like I wish I could have seen it in theaters. Actually, it also had like a really baller soundtrack going for it, like 80s pop tunes and stuff. The performances were great. What's the fucking Avenger?
Winter Soldier. Sebastian
Stan. Man.
Yeah.
Sebastian Stang.
He kills it. He's a creepy motherfucker in this movie.
And remember how the credits don't kick in until like 30 minutes into the film? That's so
I love that about it, actually.
Yeah.
The movie sets up a tone and vibe, and then 30 minutes in drops the credits. And then like the rest of the movie starts, and it's like a totally different vibe. It takes balls and confidence to do that. It's just extremely well made.
I like balls.
The jokes. Yeah, you do, Randy.
That's a good little bomb.
the jokes and like the riffs that happen regarding the world surrounding online dating and shit were fucking hilarious and so spot on. And because they're so spot on, it's like kind of depressing, to be honest, but still very funny. Just well done. Well, just all around well done. It's a good ass movie.
This wound up number 14 for me, so it wasn't too far off. And there was a time where it was in my top 10 for sure, but it just kept getting shuffled around, and that's where it ultimately landed. So I tend to agree There were again some story issues to me. Like I hate to use the dreaded word plot holes, but there's a few things in there that I just
Randy
it
hates
just
holes.
did not make sense to me, like as far as character behavior goes, and that can be a sticking point, as Bob knows
Yeah.
from having talked about The Lodge 100 times. So
just doesn't make sense. How could they do this?
It
Yeah,
makes
don't make
sense.
no
it's
sense.
just dumb.
How could they do it?
I don't know. It's just like there's a few things about it that really bother me, but stylistically, it's a good movie. Like it's got fucking, like you guys said, Sebastian Stan really does a great sort of like manic, menacing figure. And he does this great heel turn for the credits. The look, literally just the typography in this movie. I was like, fuck yeah! Like the designer in me loved that shit. So yeah, there's a lot of good things about it. It just like ultimately didn't like quite land the story for me. So
Okay.
I get
Well,
it
that
though.
was
I
our
understand.
thought.
It's also an entertaining movie, so I understand why it's high on a lot of people's lists this year.
Yeah.
That was just
That was our threes.
and my third. So now we're moving into number 2.
Randy's deuce. We're like slimming it in here.
Randy.
What's going on? I'm kind of
So-
confused.
Number 2.
I feel like I got 4 movies to talk about here. What's going on?
So yeah, my number 2, and this changed as recently as after we started this episode. I
Goddamn.
keep fluctuating.
Wow.
these two.
All the way to 2. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
for 1 and 2. I
No,
see.
for 1 and 2, the 1 and 2 spots just keep alternating because they're pretty comparably
I
enjoyable
gotcha.
in my eyes, but for different reasons. My number 2 is Pearl, Ty West's Pearl. Anybody got it for number 2 also? No. Okay.
No.
Well, we'll put a pin on it and see what higher number somebody might have. it
Who
as.
could guess?
I
So-
just can't begin to guess.
Randy's number 2 is Pearl. Juice, what is your number 2?
My number 2, we can finally talk about it. You won't be alone.
Tight. Okay.
Let's
Won't
so
be.
Randy, this was your what number?
This was my number 6. Number 6.
Okay. So this movie, I watched this early in this year. It came like May or June. I think it came out in March, but I caught it in like the late spring. This movie is beautiful. It's it fought hard for my number 1 spot, and I'll kind of justify why it's not there in just a second. But ultimately, the choices that are made to tell essentially what is the story, like this kind of story of humanity, of what it is to be a human being, essentially, but in not a fucking heavy-fisted kind of way. It takes this type of lore that makes sense and is real about witches, and it follows this plot point that like makes sense and turns it into this kind of like coming of age, naive experience of like what it is to be a human, from being a child, from being a man, from being a woman, and just experiencing it in this kind of purest way. And it like is so beautiful and well done. On top of that, it's like got this amazing gore and horror folklore that is one of the best witch movies you'll ever see. This movie is crafted at an amazing level, and this is a directorial debut. And the only reason it's not my number 1 is because like when I'm choosing these things, like for me personally, I kind of feel like it's the number 1, but I said it even when I first recommended it and throughout the year. And when I did a mini cast, it's like, I understand how this is not a super accessible film. I like recognize that immediately. It's like this
On a number of
horror.
levels.
Yeah, it's like this horror fantasy that's got like whimsical things in it and like deep gore. I was just listening to I had Caitlin talk about this, so she said some of those things. So I'm kind of pulling from her a little bit, but like I
Let's
totally
Plug It Up podcast. Look it up.
Plug It Up podcast. Thank you, Ray. And like I totally get that this is not a super accessible film, but for me, it had the most impact across the board. It has stuck with me all year. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and it's like just an amazing film. Randy, why'd you pick it?
I mean, you nailed a lot of it. I think that I probably didn't get quite the same level of heightened feeling towards it as you did, but it is a fucking beautiful movie. It is a movie that like I was talking with Caitlin about this actually myself, and I was like, was fresh off the heels of it, and I was like, I'm trying to think of what this movie contains in terms of like what is this an amalgam of? What giants is this movie standing on the shoulders of? And it was like fucking Lady Bird and The Witch and fucking Planet Earth, like all of these like crazy disparate things that blend together in this really interesting fucking way where you get like the whole human condition sort of on screen. You get the allegory of the cave on screen. You get just like a witch story that has an fucking fascinating origin point.
Yeah.
Like this is like, it's really like just a rock, like you want rock solid storytelling. This is one of them. I think it's pretty fucking great. The thing that pushed it down for me is what you said before, which is the accessibility issue. Like it's a hard movie to understand. And I mean that like in the sense that the words that are being spoken are intentionally oblique and hard to understand.
Yeah.
So it takes like real attention. As somebody who was not sober while watching it, I struggled.
Yeah, it's in Mesopotamian. Like,
yeah,
that's nuts.
And even like you think, oh well, but it's subtitled, it's fine. Yeah, but the subtitles don't make any goddamn sense. It's all very poetically written.
It is
from the perspective largely of somebody who doesn't have a good command of any language. So you really struggle with that, and it feels very literary because of that. It feels like Grapes of Wrath sort of thing.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like poetry though too. It is very like atmospheric, and the main character can't even speak. The character that you follow the whole time can't speak, and is played by completely different actors and actresses throughout. You never really follow the same face. You have to remember like, that's the character I know that can speak, but is acting in a completely different person.
That's what makes it easy to remember who's who. Is the one that can't talk is the one that's transferring bodies.
Yeah.
Well, they also like whoever they're focused on is
sure.
that character almost certainly, unless it's the witch. So,
where did this end up range wise for you, Bob?
I don't know yet. I haven't placed it. I just watched it this week, so I need to like revisit. It's a very beautiful movie. It like. I found it very, very moving. Like when the end came around, I was like sad and shit. Like on it, which just means
I was hopeful. I thought it was a hopeful
movie.
It is kind of hopeful. It is actually really hopeful given the conditions, the way that person ended up. Yeah, hopeful.
Well,
it's hopeful, but it's unforgiving.
It takes a lot to get there.
Yeah, the movie takes a toll on you. A lot. And that's its goal for sure. I'd probably need to watch it a second time to like fully comprehend everything, but it definitely like was effective and very beautiful and well crafted. I don't know that I enjoyed watching it, but I did
entertainment value is tough.
Yeah,
it's tough. Just a high barrier for entry with that movie.
Yeah.
All right, where are we going? Robert for number 2.
Number 2 for Bob is going to be X.
Okay, now we can talk about
it to you.
So this was my number 4. Randy, where did you put this one?
Number 4 as well.
Okay. So mine and Randy's 4. Go ahead, Bob.
My number 2 spot, Ty West. I think when he made this movie, he had such like a very clear, direct understanding of every single aspect of it. It feels like very cohesive, very direct. The way like everything is framed and shot is just like so beautiful, and it feels of the 70s, which is where the time the story takes place. I feel like the characters are well drawn out too. Every single one of them, it like goes to great lengths to take its time and introduce all these characters, and you sort of like really get a sense and understanding of like who they are and what their motivations are. And then like it takes a while to get to the gore and the horror of everything, but when it hits, it's like unflinching and just goes balls to the walls. It's very gruesome and like very effective. I just love really everything about it. I dig how it starts at the end and you just see like this blood and viscera laying everywhere. And then like we rewind and get to see exactly like how that axe landed there exactly. It's just like a really cool way to start the movie. It just feels like so well thought out. I dig the hell out of this. It analyzes a lot of like really interesting themes too about like youth and beauty and like what it means to be sexually active like across various different ages and like I don't know. It's
What is a butthole? Are you the butt?
It asks what is a butthole, and that's just great.
Well,
I don't know. It bangs on all cylinders for me. It
definitely bangs.
it bangs.
she bang.
Did you
She
see
bang.
that Kid Cudi dick silhouette? Because god damn.
You've been talking
Yeah.
about it all year, Bob.
That thing swung low. That's a sweet chariot.
Swing low.
So
Go ahead, Randus.
no, I mean I tend to agree with pretty much all of that. I think that like what Ty West's vision. I was just thinking to myself, this has such a strong sense of place, and I've said that about multiple movies. I looked at my top 10, and I think that's maybe honestly like the through line of like that all these movies are doing really well, or a lot, like so many of these movies this year. Maybe that's one of the like really like things that have been elevated over the years, is like we really get a sense of place with these things. It's not just slapdash together for the most part. And this movie is absolutely a great example of that. It feels like its place. It feels like its time and place. So much so that we were saying on the episode of reviewing this that it's the superior Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel we never got. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, whether or not you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I'm a little bit on the fence always. Justin doesn't tend to like it, I don't think. Bob tends to be like it okay. Am I right about that?
Which one?
Texas
Texas
Chainsaw 2.
Two.
I
two.
do not like two.
I like two.
You
yeah.
don't like 2, but Rob likes 2. Yeah, so like your mileage may vary on that movie. Whatever you thought of that movie, this is a movie that feels like the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
It has that appropriate amount of grit, that sunlight, that color grading, and the way that this movie actually deals with like sexuality and all those things. It's really fucking interesting. So it gives you that stuff to chew on that I've talked about in the past. It gives you something to think about after the movie's over. The performances are great. It has a fucking baller rendition of Landslide in it. How am I supposed to be fucking critical of that? It's good shit. I think it's a great movie. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I absolutely think it's a great movie too. Ty West came out swinging. Was a very pleasant surprise when it came out in April. Whenever early in the year again. Has stayed in my top 10 since then. Of course, he dropped another one, Pearl, which came out, which we have to kind of compare it to. And I essentially, I want to say I agree with everything that you guys said. This is number 4 on my list, so like don't come at me too hard. But comparing it to like why wasn't it higher or number 1 or compared to Pearl in any kind of way is essentially like some of the makeup was a little janky. I mentioned it before, where you're trying to have these young characters seem like they're old. So in some ways the makeup looks like it's a little too heavy-handed and kind of weird. And at the same time, all the time we're saying like this is a great Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I said in my review this is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre mixed with the taking of Deborah Morgan.
Yeah, you got it.
Logan, got it. That and stuff like that. And so in some ways it really, I said at the time, you know, it really kind of stands on the shoulders of giants, and in the best kind of way, because it accomplishes what a lot of films try to do, but at the same time you kind of see all the pillars like set up around it, whereas like with some other things I feel like they're a little more like just influences and not pillars. Where like X needs those pillars to stand up to make it great, whereas like Pearl we'll talk about later is like more just like influenced by things. That's kind of how I feel about X, but I do love it. Number 4 on my list. It's been in the top 10 this whole year essentially.
Same.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Number 1. We're getting to our number one spot.
So Randus
for the year. What you got, Rand?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is my number
know what
1.
it is.
You do know what it is. It's Le Menu.
Le Menu.
So I saw this
Hell
movie
yeah.
twice.
Okay.
I really, you guys, was it on either of your lists? I think just
Yes.
Justin was on yours.
It
right,
is. So
Rob?
I literally just watched this last night.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, and it made it to number 5.
Yeah, this is both of our
Yeah.
number 5s.
Okay, that's right. Okay. Yeah, so I really fucking love this movie so much. Having seen it a second time now, it just like really grew my appreciation for it. I mean, not only are all the things you expect to be great, the place setting, the fucking acting is incredible. This ensemble cast, everybody's doing their job. But what's so fucking interesting is the goddamn story. The things that are like what this movie is about is kind of everything. Even me sitting here talking about this movie is playing into this movie's hands. This movie is about art and criticism and commerce, and it does all those things. It blends them fucking perfectly. and like I don't know, it says so many different things. It makes so many different points, while also sort of like it's like a cross section of art as both a business and an endeavor, and service and class and all of these other things. It's a layer cake
And
of
appreciation and like
Yeah.
admiration. Yeah.
It's got everything, to the point where it's like I was looking at all these characters that existed, like the ensemble, the guests, and I'm like, every one of these characters represents. There's a reason that that what's happening is happening to these people, both narratively and structurally. They are perfect examples of the kind of thing that they're pointing fun at in this movie, or that they are criticizing in this movie. I don't know. I'm trying to dance around spoilers, I know.
Yeah.
Long story short is it's just a fucking brilliantly written movie that has brilliant actors brilliantly portraying their roles. And then on top of everything else, it's got a fucking goddamn gorgeous setting. The
Yeah.
place setting in this movie is incredible. It's the decadence is fucking wild. I love it. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's my number one. I was fluctuating between this and Pearl heavily. Like I said, up to like already during this episode, swapping it one last time. And as I sit here thinking about it, I think I made the right decision for myself.
All right. The Menu for Randu is number one. Juice, what is your number one?
Well, hang on. Let me talk about the menu.
Oh,
we
okay.
didn't. We need to talk about the menu
All right.
because it was your number 5. That's the whole game we're playing here.
All
Bob.
right.
So,
Come on, Bob, play the game.
So I sympathize with Andy a lot because I just watched this last night, and as I'm reflecting on it, it made a big impact on me as well. And I feel like had I watched this 1 week ago, that this easily could have pushed for, I think, the 3 spot. So I had it at 5. I feel like it could have easily gone up to 3. I don't think I loved You Won't Be Alone so much. I don't think it would have pushed that down, but this has to go off of Randy's like aesthetic, also to the setup of like you see in those gorgeous shows of the food. Like they deliver on that and the structure of it. So it's got even that aesthetic. Not only is the setting itself like very pleasing, but it also has this element of they deliver on like the food being aesthetically very pleasing and interesting. But Anya Taylor-Joy, fantastic. I love her presence in horror. She's such an amazing actress. I have always enjoyed Nicholas Hoult. Is that he was in the first season of Skins, which I absolutely loved, like way back in the day. And so anytime he's in anything, I'm always looking for him because I think he's a really kind of underrated actor. He did a fantastic job.
Great in this, yeah.
Fucking He Who Must Not Be Named is in this bitch.
Ray Fiennes.
Yeah, kills it. And also, I've said it like over the years, time and time and time again. I am a sucker for a very good cult film, and they play off that idea in such a unique, fun, effective way.
I didn't even think of it that way. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's so
That's
good
great.
in that way. And that really like surprised me. So I agree. The acting is fantastic. The story really surprised me, but also like was very pleasing. I love the ending. Fantastic. It was just a very satisfying film. Something to really, really think about. Beautiful to look at. Fantastic acting all through and through. So yeah,
And
it was great.
It really made up for Leguizamo's performance in Violent Night, too.
Yeah. He did such a good job in the Menu and just fucking clearly didn't give a shit about Violent Night.
Bob, why'd you put it on your list?
I mean, all the same shit that you guys already said. I primarily the story is so fucking interesting. It takes like the world of fine dining and like critics and like the elite, like wealthy celebrities, people doing bullshit like we are right now, like with podcasts and blogs and like over analyzing shit and sucking like the fun and the magic out of creating anything.
That's us. We're just
like,
sucking the fun.
That is us.
There's no mystery to anything anymore, which does like a kind of fucking blow. Like it's cool that the internet, you can learn whatever about anything at any time. But still, like the mystery is lost mostly. And like this movie just comments on all that. And it's fucking interesting. The performances are fantastic. Ray Fiennes is fucking phenomenal in this movie. And god damn it, it makes me want a cheeseburger. It's good. It's a
Yeah.
good ass
It
movie.
really did
Just a
make me wanna-
well-made
I was-
cheeseburger.
Yeah.
So I watched this. I was like in bed, ready to go to sleep, and I found this stream, and I was like, I have to watch now because we got our episode tomorrow, and I don't want to risk it being gone. And I was just sitting in bed and like, I want to eat. Like, I need some food.
This movie actually
Uh.
reminded me. It shares some themes with that movie Pig. That
I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
I was just
it
It
thinking
definitely
that.
does actually. Well, yeah,
Which
in
is also
industry.
a very good movie. Yeah.
yeah. That Nicolas Cage movie came out last spring, I think. Yeah, The Minions fucking great. It made all of our lists for a reason. What are we? Your
So
number.
now
Your
my
number
number
one.
one.
Juice. Your number one.
It's-
What's-
Okay, so finally I picked Pearl. And so I picked Pearl.
Anybody got it
over-
higher?
And it higher. So now Randy can talk about it. So this was my number one. I put it above You Won't Be Alone because it's definitely a more accessible film, even though it's still very brutal. I put it over at number one, so over X and a lot of different movies because you feel the influences of this movie. But this is a thing there's not a lot of films that try to take this setting and this look and turn them into horror films, and also just like the story behind this of them being stuck in quarantine and being like, hey, do you want to do this? And Mia Goth being so involved in fleshing out this character, and then seeing that on screen of like her monologue at the very end, and not just that one, she has like some fantastic monologues, her like this character brought to life where it's not just this slasher thing where it's like this deep-rooted character with some real problems set in this setting, but also with this particular look of the Technicolor that reminds you of things that really have more innocence, but you make it more like adult themed and grounded and realistic, and just the craft behind this movie and also the story behind it as well, combined with my already admiration for X. Like I think I loved X so much that I was like, I can't possibly like Pearl more than it. And it overcoming those high expectations ultimately kind of gives me more respect for it, because that's so difficult to do, and they did it in such a fantastic way. It's brutal when it needs to be brutal, it's beautiful when it needs to be beautiful, it's crafted well, it's acted well. I really enjoyed this film, and it blew all my expectations away, which is really hard to do. I'm a like crusty old bish sometimes, so that's tough.
Amen.
Yeah, so Randush, you have this as your number two, right?
I did, and very recently my number one, and then my number two.
Yeah,
again, my
okay.
number one again.
Yeah.
But back and forth. Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. I intentionally like tempered my expectations for this movie. I try to do that anyway, but like because I also felt really highly about X, and I was like, it's a little gimmicky, this thing. It's probably going to be a little bit like, thin on things, but it really isn't. It isn't very thin at all. Like it's a very fleshed out singular character study, which, buddy, is my language. Like that's playing to Randu's interests. So like that aspect pushed it over the edge for X for me. I love the look of it, obviously. I think that, we're talking about Terrifier 2 and Art the Clown being like an iconic figure in slashers. I don't think Pearl is quite a slasher, but she is, I think, going to be an iconic character from henceforth, at least for some time.
Especially
more
because
than
we got
that-
a third movie coming, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then on top of that, this is this 1-2 punch of X and Pearl is an absolute career maker for Mia Goth. She she went from being like a known entity who did decent performances, usually supporting, to being just the absolute behemoth that none of us quite understood she was until these two movies came out. She is a fixture in horror, at least for a while, the same way that Florence Pugh sort of got there with Midsommar. But man, I really respect the performances in this movie. I really like, as gimmicky as the look is, basically, it's done with such care and love, and it done in direct intentional juxtaposition, but not heavy-handed juxtaposition always, the way that you you might like all these movies that are like Winnie the Pooh but evil and all that shit. It's not the Wizard of Oz but evil. They're not doing that. It just borrows the visual language of the time period it's set in and through the eyes of a naive young girl who idolizes those things. So it makes a perfect logical like narrative sense. Her performance, her monologues, like the kills in this movie, just the uncanny feeling that you get when she's talking to her parents, and even the performance by her mom, it's all just fucking great. There were very few dings for me. So yeah, it was pretty close to number one, but ultimately I'm happy with number two for this movie. Bob, what did you think?
Bob took a stand.
I did. So Pearl, I quite enjoy Pearl, but I didn't want to take up 2 spots in my number 10 with Ty West movies. I just want to talk about one. I preferred X to Pearl, so I chose to talk about that because there's just like so many damn movies that I wanted to talk about this year. So Pearl did not make my official top 10 list. It is fucking fantastic.
Would it have if you had not taken that stance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it
So
was
that's-
on there, and I
that's notable.
decided.
So what was your number 10? What would have got bumped?
My number two fucking is Mona Lisa.
Oh yeah, okay.
So it would have
Mona
taken
Lisa
that
was what I
spot.
mean.
Yeah, I mean the movie's great. I mean I agree with everything you guys said. I don't know that I have much to add. The kills are fucking phenomenal. All the like Wizard of Oz shit is fantastic. Her doing that thing with the scarecrow, you know, which fucking try not to spoil it. Is fucking insane and definitely something I think we'll all remember for quite some time.
The makeup on that scarecrow too. Jesus Christ.
It's terrifying. Her performance is fucking amazing. She's Mia Goth kills it for sure. I cannot wait to see what she does in the third movie, Maxine, which I assume is coming out next year.
Or in that Infinity Pool movie.
Or Brandon Cronenberg's Infinity Pool. Baby Berg, yeah. She's all over the place. So yeah, more to come from her, no doubt. Mia Goth coming at you.
Jesus Christ.
This was definitely the year of like Mia Goth and also Jenna Ortega, dude. Like fucking
They're
year
both
of
blowing
Jenna
the fuck up.
Ortega.
Yeah, they are, man.
5 Cream, Studio 666, that Wednesday show on Netflix, American Carnage.
Oh, she's in 666? I didn't know that.
Barely.
But yeah, just small.
Oh, okay.
Small,
Not in any
small
impactful
role.
way.
She's all over
Yeah,
the place, man.
This is actually like ultimately another thing about this year is, and I think this isn't the first year it's been like this, but like a lot of these movies that we've talked about today, and a lot of them just on my overall list, very female driven, like female.
True. Yeah.
Either written, directed, or the central character is very female, like is definitively a female perspective. You know what I mean? So that's notable. Like that's not something that would have happened even 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. So Bob's number 1. Let's round this thing.
Oh yeah, Bob, what's your number 1? Damn.
My
Get
number 1 is going to Jordan Peele's Nope.
Oh
my
yeah.
God.
Oh shit, we can finally talk about it. Right.
Get an Oscar, baby.
Oh,
This
my
was
God.
my what was this? My 6.
10.
Number 6.
You're 6, my
10,
10.
6, and 1 for your boy Bob. I love this movie. I mean, we did a full episode on this, and we all talked about it at length. So if you want to hear us, wax on about it, you can do so very easily. I love this movie. It felt like a true blockbuster, like a full blown spectacle. Jordan Peele definitely had a ton of money to put into this movie. I love that the movie itself is commenting on the cost of a spectacle and how like it's just human nature to turn fucking anything and everything into a spectacle. Even if it's like terrible for you and it's terrible for you, you can't look away. You rubberneck. It's the whole, you can't look away from the train wreck or whatever. It's a commenting on that, as well as just like the state of Hollywood and like, child actors, and also like trying to like coax animals into doing whatever it is you might need them to do to make a TV show or a movie. There's just like so many layers that you can peel off of this onion that I think it's commenting on. And it's doing so in a very stylish, effective way. It's also just like the nuts and bolts of it is it's just an alien movie, but it's a very original, fresh take on an alien movie. I think the marketing for this was done so well. It gives you just enough to know that it's an alien movie. You're like, okay, let's go in and see what Jordan Peele's going to do with this. And it takes such a wild turn. I know when the reveal thing happens, I didn't love it at first, but the more I reflected upon it, the more I enjoyed it. And I sort of had this like light bulb moment when we were doing the review, and I was like, oh my God, now I know why this looks like that. It's just like a really cool original idea for an alien movie. I dig the hell out of it. It's one that I'm sure I'm going to watch several times. The score is fantastic. And it has like some solid scares and like some really memorable, like true horror moments, even though it's I guess more like of a sci-fi movie technically. There's at least 2 scenes in this movie that are fucking terrifying. So it still has that going for it. I dig it. Nope.
Randy, you had this on the other end of the spectrum, so I'll let you go next. Why was Nope your 10? Well, you talked about it a little bit.
I did, yeah. I think that actually Rob just kind of circled on where our difference lies in the thing that like I kept coming back to, that kept sort of like pulling this movie down for me, is that I can't, and again, it's partially because it's a comparison to 2 movies that I consider fucking like top notch. His previous 2 films, I love both of them. Get Out is, you know, of course, my favorite, most people's favorite. Us is pretty damn close. This one has a little bit of a gap, and I think the reason is that I didn't find it scary, really. I don't know that I like looking back at it, I don't remember very many scenes where I was even like tense about it. I felt like it, because it sacrificed a little bit of that to get sort of the Spielbergian adventure feel, which is fine and good, but ultimately, like, I did miss a little bit. I wish there was more like direct horror going on to make it feel like those movies did, where it has everything this movie has, and also it's just like terrifying in some way. This one just didn't really land for me in that way, I guess.
Yeah, I felt like somewhere in the middle, where it's a blessing and a curse for Jordan Peele, where, you know, he's getting the attention that he deserves because he's making quality films, but then they have to stack up against each other. And where I feel like this is somehow both like thinner on its like messaging than the other films, while also being a little too kind of like jam-packed, because you have the point that Bob brought out, which is like the spectacle, and you gotta look at it, and oh my God, we gotta look at this. But then there's also this other aspect of like an animal kind of aspect in it, and like the little bit of like the kind of showbiz and like what people sacrifice their bodies and their work for in order to kind of get success in that. And like they're all kind of connected, but also feel like they have their own points to make, which makes it a little muddled. And so when you're dealing, unfortunately, with a Jordan Peele movie now, that's like at the forefront, at least of like my brain. And so while I do think there were some solid horror moments here, and then some surprisingly good and pleasant to see like blockbuster moments, again, I said I'm a sucker for a great little premise, and he nails it with this. But I also do think it's like in some ways muddled. And I've seen this movie 3 times now, because I saw it in a stream in order to do the cast, and then in the theater when it finally came out in Korea, and then it was on the plane when I was coming to the States. So I've had quite a bit of experience with it, and it still, I think, is my 3rd favorite of Peele's as well. And that's always going to be the case with Jordan. It's just like he's got such a reputation now for a specific style of filmmaking, and even though he kind of subverted that in this movie by making it more of like blockbustery, it's still the forefront of like the messaging and what he's getting across and stuff like that. And I think this is my least favorite of his, despite the fact it's still 6 on my list. It's still a great film.
Right.
You absolutely should watch it. Check it out. It just couldn't get any higher for me because of that. So yeah,
it's like success comes with its barbs, and that's one of them. Like,
yeah.
You have to, you're constantly going to be measuring up to yourself, and especially with as many people already know his name, you know, even before he was a director, like people know it's impossible for him to escape, because his face and name are so associated with these movies. Whereas a lot of directors get at least the facial anonymity, you know, like you don't have that strong of a cognitive connection. If you're talking about even Ty West or whatever, we know that, but like the average moviegoer isn't necessarily going to connect these movies to some of his older movies. You know what I mean? So
we know European style, so we got them dialed in, you know.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. European style.
Love you, Jordan, though. Please come on our
Yeah.
show. I know you're not busy at all.
Love
You
you,
got
man.
lots of time, so just swing on by.
I think our extremely quality criticisms should sway you to come on.
I'm
Our
sure you respect
qualified
our
critiques.
deep opinions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Our deep opinions like, I don't know, man. It's like, it's cool though. It's good. Movie good, bro. Come on.
Movie equals good. So that's our top 10 of 2022. Real quick, let's run down each of our individual lists just in case anybody listening at home wanted to jot anything down. Randy, why don't you run them down 10 to 1 real quick?
Yeah, let's do this for the note
Recap.
takers.
Yeah.
So my going 10 to 1, Nope. Number 10, number 9, Deadstream, number 8, Crimes of the Future, number 7, Barbarian, number 6, You Won't Be Alone, number 5, Soft and Quiet, number 4, X, number 3, Piggy, number 2, Pearl, and number 1, The Menu. So it's literally Pearl's after Swine in this particular case.
Uh-huh.
Juice. What you got?
All right, 10 to 1. The Innocents, Prey, Bodies, 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 Nanny, Nope, The Menu, X, Fresh, You Won't Be Alone, Pearl. A lot of one-word titles there.
Nailed it.
Mhm.
All right, Bob, 10 to 1. What you got?
I got Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon, Terrifier 2, Barbarian, Scream, 5 cream, The Black Phone, The Menu, Watcher, Fresh, X, and Nope.
All right.
There you go.
Some of those lists are great. Some of them are
Better.
okay.
So we talked about our favorites of the year. Let's go ahead and get into some of the bullshit. We're gonna do like a bottom 3. Let's just jump into it. Juice, why don't you kick off the shittiest movies of the year?
Kick off.
What
You want me to just do one at a time?
just one, yeah.
Okay, so my absolute bottom, and this is a little bit of a caveat, but I have the Munsters.
Oh,
and
I
I
didn't
had-
watch it.
Dude, I watched most of it in
Damn.
pieces.
Wait, okay. Is that true? What do you
is
mean
true.
most of it?
It is true.
Percentage
so,
of runtime.
So I would watch it for like 15, 20 minutes at a time in a couple of different intervals. And I don't think I actually finished the final 10 minutes of it or something.
I mean,
Like
you don't
nothing
really
I'd ever
need-
smelled before in
I
my
don't.
life.
It only gets worse.
This movie, there's some other bad movies that we're going to talk about, but at least they have real actors in them. I mean, oh my God.
Get the juice now.
Rob Zombie does it again, and I don't know how anyone can defend him at this point. But the problem with this time, he really for years has leaned in his like gritty, grimy, white trailer trash bullshit. But now he's trying to make this comedy. And man, if you fuck up comedy, it shows, because there's just so much like dead, awkward space in this movie about the Munsters, which is this out of place family. And in this film, they are not out of place. They're surrounded by monsters and there's no family.
Yeah.
He literally missed
They're
them.
fish in water.
Yeah, he
Yes.
missed the
Yeah.
mark in every aspect
Oh,
you could
man.
even consider for this film. And it looks like it looks like it should be a porno. It looks like it should, like the quality of what this looks like is a
Damn.
porno set. It's bad. Man. This is- of course you would, shouldn't be surprised that Rob Zombie is the bottom on my list. That dude is a director in the loosest fucking sense. So yeah, the Munsters.
Loosey goosey.
Juice is out here
Bob.
playing with his fucking verbal knife. Trying to
Dude,
get
Bob,
a
you
cut
wanna-
in.
Dude, I've done that a
Yeah.
couple times this year.
I'll slide in.
Bob,
Mhm.
go ahead.
I think the worst movie I saw this year, and I did a mini cast on this. If you want to hear me talk more about it, you can do so. It's a movie called Dash Cam.
Yeah,
I still didn't watch it.
This,
that was my third worst, but it was a contentious choice.
yeah, this movie was baffling to me. I put it on, and it took me at least halfway through the movie to realize, like, oh, are they trying to be funny? Like, are they trying to make jokes? Because this shit is not fucking funny at all. It's just like they're just saying things that normal people say in day-to-day life, and I guess hoping that you think it's funny. It's very much a movie commenting on like anti-vaxxers and Trumpers, and you're basically following around this YouTube personality, this girl who like does this show on YouTube where she drives her car around town and she sort of freestyles and waxes poetic about whatever's on her brain for the day, and that's her show. And she's doing that, and she's living in California and finds the whole like mandatory vaccination situation to be untenable, so she moves out to the UK. She's got a friend out there. She crashes with him. And she starts like driving, like delivering food, or her friend delivers food like part-time, and she picks up one of his fares and does it, and then like she walks into this place to pick up the food, there's nobody there, and then there's this old lady, and she like gives her a ride, and crazy shit happens with the old lady. It gets nuts. But the whole time she's just like the most unlikable character of any movie I think I've seen all year, hands down. All year.
Absolutely.
And she just like says abhorrent shit that like your most obnoxious family members would absolutely say. But it's like, I guess, supposed to be hilarious, but it's just like, my shitty uncle says this. It's not funny. It's not fucking funny. So like I was just like so baffled, realizing halfway that it's meant to be funny, that I like researched it, and I was like, who is this person? Like, why? What is happening? So this is the Rob Savage, I believe is the director's name, who did Host, which came out last year on Shudder, which is
surprisingly good movie. Yeah.
So this was his follow-up to that. He got a three picture deal with Blumhouse, and this is the first of 3. So I like researched who this Annie Hardesty, I think is her name, a character, the main character of the movie, and I found out that that's not a character. That is this real person's real name.
That's her person. That's her.
And she does have a YouTube show where she does this exact shit and drives around and freestyles. Like, it's just her playing herself. But when you hear them do interviews, she's like, no, that's a total character. That's not me. But it's her fucking name, and she has the show in real life. It's just her. And then when you listen to her do like other interviews that aren't like specifically about the movie, she says all the same bullshit. It's not. Yeah. And also when you dive deeper and find out there was no script, she made all that shit up on the spot. Like, she's not an actor. She's not like an improv genius. Like, that's just who she fucking is, man. Like, it's just dog shit.
They're doing the thing.
Shit, lazy movie.
They're doing the thing where they'll justify it as being like, it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David's not himself in Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's a version of himself. And they try and play that line. But Bob's exactly right. This person is identical to the person that has her own YouTube channel. I've seen it. And she's also like deeply, deeply up her own ass about it.
Yes.
And didn't you tell me, Bob, that she said that like people who don't like this movie are just being narcissistic or something like that?
Yes. So I watched an interview.
Holy shit.
An interview she did with another YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of the show. I mentioned it in the mini cast, so if you want to know, you can check it out there and watch the interview yourself. And she's saying like people, she like didn't understand why people might not like this movie, might not find it funny, and if like you don't like the movie, that means you're the psychopathic narcissist because you're unable to find the humor in it, I guess.
It's just pure edgelord bullshit. And the thing is, like, all of that would be acceptable to a certain extent if it was a character, but it's not. Also the things, if you even set aside like the politics of the question, like, it's not even entirely about that. She is absolutely an abhorrent human being.
So wait, what's the horror aspect of this movie?
So the woman that she ride to, like,
she's not normal.
Okay.
Does crazy shit.
Not a normal lady.
She is like trying to survive the night for sure. And like there's some,
and it's got some good
scares. Yeah, there's like decent effects and scares
later
and
on, a couple of them, I would say.
But also, like, even when the scary shit's happening, she says dumb shit that like makes it not scary. Like, oh fuck my tits, come on my face, oh my, like shit that doesn't make any fucking sense in the moment. Like a good bomb press. She's a second away from dying. She's like, oh fucking shit on my tits. Like,
Timestamp
Dude,
it.
yeah, you gotta grab that. Well, you can't let that slide.
It's just
No,
fucking bad.
it's really fucking frustrating. Yeah,
we
I
can't.
don't know,
all right,
man.
boys. We gotta
can't
land
talk
the
about
plane
just
on
that.
that film.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Dash Cam,
not a good
fucking,
movie.
fucking dog shit movie. Randy,
I thought you were being harsh on that movie when you first came out. Nope, you weren't. Yeah, my top spot for bad movies this year was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the reboot, whatever you fucking want to call it, the sequel, requel, dequel, it doesn't fucking matter. This thing, it's so slapped together and it's so empty of anything that made any of the Texas Chainsaw films good ever. It's just absent all of that shit. It tries to like shoehorn a few like topical issues in there to play like it has something to say, but it has nothing to fucking say, man. I really don't believe that it does. And the scares aren't there, the action isn't there. There's one kind of cool scene involving the bus that is funny and interesting in like a spectacle sense, but it's not scary and it's not valuable in any way, like narratively or otherwise. It just, everything about it is just sort of like hollow feeling. And for it to be like in a year where we got like Prey, we got Scream. This came out after Scream 5. Scream 5 cut this movie off at the knees. It's just like it undercut everything this movie was trying to do by just absolutely pointing it out, and then this movie just kind of proved Scream 5's point. It's bad. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just like thoroughly fucking unenjoyable, and I don't like sand.
I don't either. Fucking A. Juice. What else you got?
Well, we all knew this was coming, so let's get in here. Everyone, get in here. Halloween ends. We all knew. Here it is. Let's
It's
go ahead and
dog
bitch
shit.
about this one.
We haven't talked about this fucking movie enough.
Yeah, you all knew this is coming. If you listen to this cast in any capacity, Halloween ends. It's bullshit. Don't pretend like it's good.
Don't pretend.
It's it's not.
I see you pretending.
A movie, I get the whole idea. Oh my god, it's the third in the series. Remember what Halloween 3 was and tried to do its own thing and stuff. It's like, yeah, but this is like the ultimate kind of bitch move, because obviously they were affected by the not success of the second film, which I thought, had its fine points. It wasn't amazing. But the
It clunked at the
Halloween
end.
points were the best points. And you know what they didn't have in fucking Halloween 3? Halloween moments. Michael Myers moments. Michael Myers is treated like a fucking rag doll in this movie. He rides bitch seat on the fucking moped in this movie. I mean,
Hold on tight.
it's the most.
Do your thing, cuz.
And anyone who wants to say that there's like some kind of decent story here, there could have been, but to slap the Halloween name on it makes it feel so cheap and it's like such a cop out. And
Same problem as Halloween 3.
Yeah, and not to say that Halloween 3 is as bad as this movie is.
No, it's not, but it just has having the same issues does not make it as good as that movie.
Well, and this should have had the benefit of that in hindsight, but it wants, I don't know what it wants. I don't
like
think it
big
knows what it
swings.
wants. Yeah.
The thing is, like, I like a big swing if it's remotely plausible or works. In this movie, it doesn't make any fucking sense to do the things that they do with these characters. In fact, and I'll say this 100 times. If I've said it once, I'll say it 100 more times. This is clearly a story that David Gordon Green and or Danny McBride wanted to tell, but they were contractually obligated to make a Halloween movie. So they just shoved that shit right in the middle of another movie. And then they had to do lip service to the stuff that they marketed the movie on around the edges of it. It's bad.
Yeah, it feels like they pulled a rug. Like I don't know. I blame them like completely, because it just, whether you're obligated or not, like, you shouldn't do a franchise this way. Like, don't agree to make a third film then, or like do something else. Just like, I don't know. It's,
if you want to hear us bitch for a full
we've said plenty on this film, so check that out.
Yeah, that movie fucking blows wieners. There you go.
Cool. A Robert.
Can't wait for the next one.
What do you got for another one? What's another stinker?
You handled the other two movies that I was most upset about, so I got to reach for another one.
Sure, reach.
Dario Argento's Dark Glasses.
Oh no.
Really?
was
I
not
only saw
great.
a few minutes of that.
It's not great, and I really don't remember anything about it. It's got some snakes. There's some snakes in it. There's a lady that can't see. She's blind. A dog does something really cool, actually, and that's all I got.
Well, don't they usually?
Dark
Dogs rule.
Glasses. Randy, what do you got?
The only one that I would like, I could bring up Hocus Pocus 2, but I understand what that movie is and isn't, and it's tough to hold it against it. It is a cash grab. It feels like a cash grab. It looks like a cash grab. There's not a whole lot of artistic merit there. There's just a bunch of dollar signs floating around from one person to the other. And you know what? Goal achieved for them, I guess. They didn't make $1 billion, but they probably sold some fucking Disney Plus subscriptions, so whatever.
Some hoodies. There you go.
Yeah, definitely some hoodies. So there was that, and then there was The Sadness, which I just I do not think anything about that movie justifies itself.
That's
All
why
right.
Bob made us watch.
Let's. You got another one, Juice? Let's wrap this.
Yeah,
one
I
up.
do have one that's like kind of surprising. It's just ended up at the bottom of my list. I don't feel like such a hatred for this movie because I have almost like nothing invested in it except about an hour and a half. But it was A Wounded Fawn, which I mentioned, I think, just last week or like recently in What You've Been Watching. But so this movie, it's on Shudder, and I actually saw a high on a couple people's list of like, yeah, this is. So I was like,
I saw it. Hi.
well, yeah, I saw a high on some people's list, and I was like,
Heard that.
well, I don't want to pass up a potentially good film. So I threw this on, and I would say the first 15 to 20 minutes minutes set up something that I thought could have been pretty good. And then it just like gets worse and worse and worse. And even into the credits, like the credits kind of roll over some footage that somehow just make it worse and worse and worse. You know what I'm talking about. And I just couldn't believe the I couldn't believe
not sacred.
each turn that they took. And each one, it just felt more kind of pretentious and not subtle in any kind of way, and just kind of lacking in any kind of tact or regular kind of storytelling. And not to say like anything that's not a linear story, it's not that. It's just way too heavy-handed and way too up its own ass to hold like a lot of merit for me. And my number 2 movie was You Won't Be Alone. So don't come at me about like, I don't know, like artsy fartsy films.
I mean,
like
that. They're both up
coming
their
at
own
you.
ass. Just one's a little more
just
successful
like
at it.
this one does not have anything to justify it, in my opinion, and it takes all the wrong turns. So yeah, I would mention that one, A Wounded Fawn.
Yeah, I don't
Get
have
an
another
Oscar,
one.
baby.
Oh
I don't-
my god.
That was weird. I don't really have another one that I need to bitch about. They've all been covered pretty thoroughly.
The truly bad list is extremely short for me.
It is.
I
Yeah,
have 5
it really
movies
is.
that I was like, these are movies I definitely did not like.
I did
Can you
have
mention them?
Texas Chainsaw and Sadness, like just poking up there. Yeah,
Just to round out.
poking up there.
poking up there.
Just poking up.
Well, should we do some honorable mentions? then?
Yes.
Yeah, come on, Bob.
Let's roll into some honorable mentions. I'm gonna kick this one off here.
All right.
Because you know what? I fucking like The Sadness. Okay? I like it.
That's your honorable mention.
I've got a lot.
senses, isn't it,
my friend? I feel like I
Oh,
want to
God.
show a little love to it because you guys should know. I think it's a solid zombie picture. It's very gore heavy. The effects are fucking fantastic. And if you're in for a movie that's just like over the top gore, blood and guts, I think it does a good job at that. It's not a
Nice.
thinker, but I
Oh, it wants to be. It really wants to be,
I mean,
though. And
I don't
that's
know.
maybe
It's not
definitely
like
think
that
it's-
bullshit menu.
It's like
the
yeah,
menu. It's on.
I'm just
I
talking
don't
about
know,
you,
man.
Bob.
it's just like this thing where it's like I don't know. Hey,
Nah.
You say your praise for it. I said my negatives.
I mean, it's as simple as that. I just think the effects are fucking fantastic, and it's a really entertaining, gory ass zombie movie. It's as
not a
simple
thinker.
as
It
that.
has to not be a thinker because if you think about it, then it sucks.
What you gotta do is turn your
Oh.
brain off.
yes.
Oh,
I see.
Fuck you.
Thanks for
Fuck
explaining
you.
that to me.
I just wanted to show a second of love real quick to the
Bob
side.
just loves to see balls getting smashed. That's all.
I do.
Bob just got a Q shape.
Let me see that ball butter. Oh yeah, turn
oh,
it.
He really loved
You're
that.
giving us a
Nutcracker
lot of
scene
good
in
bumps
Violent
tonight.
Night.
Randy, what's honorable mention?
Well, there were like, I don't know, how many are we talking about? There are a couple that
A few.
really.
A few.
All right. So I'm just a real rapid fire. My 11 through 15 were Prey, We're All Going to the World's Fair, Sissy, Fresh, and The Northman, going down. So 15 is The Northman. There was one movie that I fucking adored this year, and a lot of people did. And I honest to God think it's a true classic. It's going to be considered a classic for a long time, or at least it's going to have a high reputation for many years. Until maybe I'm made a fool of later on in that line. But Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is a movie that I could not justify putting on this list for obvious reasons. Not really a horror movie in any way that is substantial. It is everything, so it kind of is nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's more action than it is those things. It's more comedy than it is those things. It's more drama than it is horror. So I couldn't put it on this list. But if it qualified for this list, it would have been an easy number one for me, because it is the most entertaining and moving movie and unique movie that I saw this year, intended for the wide audience that it eventually got. So I want to sing praises for that, even though it doesn't quite qualify. The other movie I wanted to bring up was We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is very much a movie that I didn't really know about, that I don't think that it's very well known in broader circles outside of the dork realm. That's another movie that kind of falls into the category of soft and quiet, not in terms of like being angry about what's happening, but in terms of like it being tied to a certain reality that makes it hard to watch. For those who don't know, that it's a found footage movie where it's told through the lens of a girl who is doing an online challenge, sort of like a TikTok-y challenge or whatever, that's like creative writing sort of feeling, like it's like creepypasta sort of shit.
And she's like young.
And she's very young, and she's a fucking great actress. And the thing about it is, it's like the whole movie it touches on a lot of things about the way that we interact with each other online and otherwise, and the way maybe depressed teenagers deal with their depression and have all these crazy outlets that might lead them astray. And also there's like this unreliable narrator thread through the entire fucking thing, and it ends on such like a bummer, overly realistic but untrustworthy note. It's tough to describe what I'm saying without, if you know, you know, I guess. I think that it's worth watching. It's got its problems. It's not a crowd pleaser. It's the opposite of everything everywhere all at once in terms of crowd pleasing. But it's something that I think, you know, if you have time in your life for a bummer of a movie that makes a really salient comment about the way that people deal with their internalized depression and their loneliness and those sorts of things, I think you could do a fuck ton worse. So that's all. I like it.
Randy blasted through all his. Why don't you do the same?
Yeah, okay. So one that my boy Hugh Janus wasn't a huge fan of, but I thought was actually pretty solid, was What Josiah Saw, which I mentioned this is kind of like a Southern Gothic type of film. And it's easy to take those kind of films and just make it like the crazy hillbillies in the woods and stuff like that. You know, that's a trope, and that's fine. But this movie actually uses the setting well and uses the characters well. I did mention that it's got some elements of like maybe No Country for Old Men and stuff like that. It never amounts to like the level that film does, but it's got some elements in it that make it a pretty like respectable film, in my opinion. And one that had some interesting elements that I didn't really see coming, or that just I kind of enjoyed exploring. And so I like that one. I would also mention Resurrection with Rebecca Hall. She does a fantastic job. It's a very interesting film. It's another one that's really hard to watch. There's some stuff it's not necessarily about the gore in that film, even though there is some, but there's some things that they just describe to you in like a story type of way that's like so psychologically disturbing that it really kind of stuck with me and like for a while, and something I think about sometimes. So that one. And other than that, I think those are like my two big ones that haven't been kind of like mentioned or reviewed in any kind of capacity. So I'll leave it at that. Northman as well. Northman was like in the teens. I liked it. Just wasn't horror enough, I think.
Yeah.
Bob, did you have more?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you did have more.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Bob.
Yeah, I
Go
thought
ahead.
we were gonna do one at a time, but that's
No,
I'll wrap mine up real quick. Things that haven't been mentioned already. Yule-log, which is relatively new. That's on HBO Max. You can stream that. It's a Cartoon Network feature-length live-action movie.
It is not an animation. Yeah.
Adult
No.
Swim. Yeah, you're right. It's just a really interesting idea for a movie. The way it starts is, of course, like one of those digital like logs on fire. You put it on the TV and you let it roar for the holidays, and then people start having a conversation around it. They start walking in front of it, and then eventually it pans out and you see a little bit more of what's going on. And it's a full-blown horror movie. What happens? It's a weird like mashup of subgenres too. Like there's just a lot of crazy shit that goes down. There's a lot of comedy in it as well. If you've seen Too Many Cooks, which is that weird Adult Swim short that came out a few years ago, it's got that kind of vibe to it. It's definitely got its issues, but it's just extremely entertaining. I fucking loved watching it. It was a lot of fun. That's on HBO if you want to check it out. Another one,
That's
I
the
haven't
ultimate
really-
swerve of a show of a movie.
it's a hell of a swerve. Another one I haven't heard like really anybody talk about is a movie called Kimmy. This I believe it's also on HBO Max. Came out in like
Kimmy?
yeah, Kimi.
Oh,
Kimmy.
no, I haven't heard of
It's
this
ringing
one.
a
It's
bell,
not on
but I
my
can't think of it.
radar.
It came out like February or March of this year, something like that. It's I didn't put it on my list because it's not an outright horror movie. It does, however, very much harken back to like Hitchcock's Rear Window. It's got that vibe, but it's like modernized. Chloe Kravitz. What's the Lenny Kravitz's daughter's name?
Zoe.
Zoe. Yeah. Thank you. She's the star of this movie, and she's living in a high
Soderbergh.
rise. Yeah. Soderbergh movie.
Huh.
She's living in a high rise, and she's working from home. She's doing this like call center type thing, and she gets a call one day, and she thinks she hears some like really terrible stuff going on in the background, and she does some deep diving and finds out some disturbing shit that she brings to her employer, which they of course shrug off. So she takes matters into her own hands, and it sort of like gets out of control. Super cool, like thriller, I guess, is if you wanted to really classify it. That's really it's a total thriller. It's really well written, well acted, good ass movie. It's on HBO. Kimmy.
Nice. I should add that to my list.
Mhm.
Buzz
Yeah.
is in it.
Buzz again. We haven't seen him since
Devin
Blue Ruin.
Devin Ratray. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
I don't
Blue
think I've
Ruin,
seen him
right?
since Blue
Yeah,
Ruin.
he's in
He
Blue Ruin,
apparently
yeah.
was in that reboot of Home Alone that everyone absolutely loathed.
I think that's on Disney Plus.
I'm sure they
I'm
did.
sure he got a nice fat check for it too.
Oh, Buzz. Is he like the dad? If Buzz was the dad, that'd be kind of
No,
cool.
he's a cop in that. That's what I
Oh.
understand. Which makes a
make
lot
Buzz
of
the
sense.
dad. Come on.
Negative.
Negative.
Another one we've talked about a little bit in the past. Who Invited Them? It's on Shudder.
Oh yeah.
Horror comedy. This young couple buy a new house up in the Hollywood Hills. They have a housewarming party, and there's another couple that shows up, and they're not sure who invited them, and they overstay their welcome. They sort of hit it off, and then as you learn more about these mysterious people that showed up to the party uninvited, shit gets nuts. Definitely got a lot of comedy. Really enjoyable. You can watch that on Shudder. Yeah.
I liked that movie a lot when we watched it, but like it just kept creeping down and down. It wound up number 31 on my list.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like that, it's just like kind of a thin movie, maybe. But it is
little
worth
thin.
it's worth a Sunday afternoon watch.
Totally. The last thing I'll throw out there is the WNUF sequel.
Oh yeah.
Out there Halloween mega tape. I really enjoyed that shit. Chris LaMartino, we interviewed him on the show a little while ago. He made a sequel to WNUF. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's sort of like a truly found footage style movie. The sequel specifically takes place in the 90s, and it's sort of split into two halves almost. The first half is sort of like a daytime TV talk show host who's interviewing all these like spooky people, doing like a Halloween special, and she's got like a vampire on there she's interviewing. It's very funny. It's interspliced with a bunch of like like 90s stylized commercials that are all like fabricated for this. The second half of it very much is about a cult, and like they worship aliens, and like shit goes down towards the end. It's a really fun ass thing to throw on during Halloween. And I think last time I checked, the only way you can watch it, I believe, is if you buy it online. So you have to go search for
Yeah, that's what he
the-
was saying.
the Out There Halloween mega tape and buy it on DVD.
That's an
on-
intentional
on the
choice, which I
website.
respect the fuck out of.
Yeah,
by the
it's
way.
it very much a labor of love, very much a DIY movie. So show them some love. It's a good time.
How does it compare to Solid 1 star in your opinion? What do you think?
I mean, anything we make is the best.
You mean that piece of shit?
Okay, all right.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Yeah, that's it for my honorable mentions. Last but not least, I do have a list of shit that's coming out in 2023, some stuff to look forward to that I did want to mention here. So January, we got The Pale Blue Eye, that's hitting Netflix. It's got Christian Bale in it, and it's what's the fucking
We were just talking about
we were
this.
just talking about, I'm totally fucking blanking now. The
Victor
Pale Blue
got
Eye,
it.
anyway, that's gonna be on fucking Netflix.
I think I still got it.
watch that if you want. There's another movie called Human Resources. I don't know what the fuck that's about. Megan, which there's a trailer out that's Blumhouse's
I'm not digging that.
Chucky
Yeah.
I'm
knockoff.
not digging that.
Yeah.
I'm also in that boat. They are pushing it hard, though. I think they really want. Like, it's one of those where it's like, I think going to be at least to my mind, a not quite iconic character that they're trying to put forward as an iconic character. You know?
It feels that way. They're kind
Unless
of
It's like a pseudo Annabelle.
Yeah, it's like Annabelle, Chucky, and fucking
Antlers.
Ex Machina.
He did Antlers, Bob,
the
the guy who
director
did
did.
Pale Blue Eye,
Yeah.
and he also did Black Mass.
Okay, well, yeah, that's coming. I don't really know much about that, but that's hitting Netflix, so it'll be easy to watch. February, you got M. Night Shyamalan's latest Knock at the Cabin Door. It's based on a book.
Boo.
Hopefully that doesn't suck. You get that Winnie the Pooh murder movie,
Hell yeah.
Blood and Honey, whatever.
Ugh.
February 15th. Also, Cocaine Bear drops February 24th.
Sounds like January and February is gonna be rough
It's
again.
kind of some doo-doo is
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
That's how it goes.
Uh,
Except for
Nun, too.
Five Cream.
Yeah, well, speaking of Cream, March 10th, we get Scream 6, which is the actual title, Scream 6. I will forever call it 6 Cream, though. Also,
Okay.
March 10th, we get 65, which seems like a Turok movie almost, with Adam Driver.
Really?
Yeah, have you not seen the
Mhm.
trailer for this?
Adam
Driver in the future does apparently some sort of like weird time travel shit in outer space.
And he
On
fights
accident.
and he fights dinosaurs?
Yeah, he gets sent back in
What?
time and he fights dinosaurs.
That sounds cool as shit.
It does sound kind of cool. April 14th, we got a movie called Renfield dropping.
Yes.
Nick Cage plays Dracula. I guess
Oh shit.
it was shot in New Orleans last year, and I am looking forward to that.
All right.
The Pope's Exorcist also drops in April. I don't really know what that is. It's a knockoff Exorcist movie, I assume. Also, April 21st, Evil Dead Rise is finally going to come out theatrical. Very stoked for that. May and June, I don't really have shit going on as far as I'm aware. July, we get Insidious 5, which is called Fear the Dark,
Oh my lord.
God.
which is
I've only seen 2 of those, so
probably not going to be great. What's
Not-
his face is directing that? The guy, the
James
Conjuring-
Wan?
No, the dude that stars in the Conjuring. What the fucking that dude?
Oh,
Oh.
Patrick Wilson.
He's
Yeah,
directing.
he's directing,
Oh, because he was I see. Okay.
Yeah, he's Juan's buddy. August, we got a movie called The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which there's no real footage about. Like, I am really interested in this idea though. So Nosferatu, the boat that he took over, is called the Demeter, and of course, when the boat arrives, everybody on it is dead, and they just find a bunch of rats. So this movie is about what happens on the last voyage of the Demeter. So
Okay.
you get to see what goes
That's kind
down.
of cool.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
The
What a
Nun
group-
too, Bob. You didn't bring it up yet.
I was about to.
Oh,
September
Nun
8th.
Deuce.
The Nun takes a huge fucking deuce on your face, and you're gonna love it.
Oh.
You're gonna
You
eat
pieces
it
of
up.
shit. Look at the Nun's feet, you pieces of shit.
I want it to scream at my face more. It's scary.
October 13th,
I think she's kind of hot.
we get David Gordon Green's sequel
teeth.
to The Exorcist, which is just also called The Exorcist.
Oh,
So fucking
cool.
thank you, dude.
This is gonna be so good. This is gonna be such a
So good.
great experience for all of us.
Yeah. What if Pazuzu just fell in love with your mom though? That'd be a good movie,
Started
right?
plowing her.
What if
God
Pazuzu
damn.
Pazuzu's in all of us though? So that's all
Do me,
good.
Pazuzu.
Look at my feet,
Hit me with
Pazoos.
your sweaty hog, Pazuzu.
Well, we just wrote David
The
Gordon Green's
power of cock compels you.
God.
Ooh.
October
Ooh.
27th, we get Saw 10, Saw X.
Thank God. That's
Jesus
what we all. What is this? Is this going to be the year of like shitty,
Bullshit
shitty,
sequels?
shitty sequels?
Probably.
Sounds like it.
Speaking of your boy Rob motherfucking Savage, his second Blumhouse joint's coming out next year. It's based on a Stephen King book or short story. It's called The Boogeyman. It's cool. There's another Salem's Lot reboot's coming out. The Mutilator 2 is coming out, which is fucking insanity.
Yeah, that's right.
A movie called Skinamarink, I think, is hitting.
Oh, yeah.
In January.
I'm pretty psyched about that.
I'm trying not to get too psyched.
Yeah, there's a trailer.
Yeah, I
That
think
trailer is baller.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? If the movie sucks, that trailer will still get me.
Yeah, if
I
nothing else,
approve.
it's like that one game that they developed, like the Del Toro helped develop or whatever, that never actually became a game, but it's in its own self. It's like, okay, you know what I'm talking about, Randy?
I don't.
I know. what you're
It was
talking
like a demo, and you
Oh,
play it for like
PT? Silent Hill
yeah, where
PT?
you play it for like 12 minutes, and like
Yeah.
you know, it was like amazing, but it never became a game. But it still exists, so it's okay.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a Strangers reboot that probably will come out next year. We'll see about that.
Oh, a reboot. I didn't know about that.
It's not that old.
It's not that old.
Yeah.
The Train to Busan reboot, Last Train to New York, should be coming out next year.
No.
Uh,
No.
No. The last thing I have here is the director. I'm blanking on his name. The dude that did Freaky and Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You
Okay.
and Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones, and one other movie. He did a lot of shit. He's got a new movie coming out called Time Cut. That's going to be another sort of like horror mashup with an 80s property. I think it's going to be like a Back to the Future meets a slasher kind of thing. Like, you know, Freaky was like Freaky Friday meets a slasher. I think he's going to do something kind of like that, but with Back to the Future shit.
I just do not find an interest in
Randy.
that
Oh my god.
shit.
Oh my god.
Oh my
What's
god.
wrong with you,
Oh my
Randy?
God.
I hate fun. Is the
I
obvious
like I
answer.
liked Happy Death Day, so
Yeah.
I'm down.
That's fun.
do it.
That's the short list I got for 2023. So a handful of good things, definitely a handful of bad things. Yeah, let us know what you're looking forward to next year. What do you want to see? What do you
Yeah.
want to hear us talk about? Let
Yeah.
us know.
The good, only pick the good stuff, please.
Five Nights at Freddy's is coming out.
Yeah, that's right.
If only someone would
got-
pick the menu for us to
Matthew-
cover in there. You
The
Matthew
menu
Lillard.
two,
Lillard got
just
cast
desserts.
for Five Nights at Freddy's. He's going to be in it.
Oh yeah. What's
Who is?
Lillard been up to these
Matthew
days?
Lillard.
fucking Lillard.
Has he
Extra
done
girl.
anything?
Daddy Lillard.
He's
Uh,
been up in your butt.
recently.
That's what he's been doing.
Last thing I saw him in that I can recall was
Your
Twin
butt.
Peaks, the return.
Oh, I didn't watch
Yeah.
that.
That's it. That's gonna do it for us. That's our last episode of 2022. Holy shit, what a year.
We did it. We did it. What a year.
We did a lot of shit. How many episodes do you guys think we put out this year? Guess.
Well, all our main
50 something
52
because it's a weekly
no.
show.
No,
Well,
no.
no.
Everything.
52 plus
I don't know.
2 a month. That's 24. So
Math.
that's
I'm gonna go
Wait.
75.
Quick
no
math.
more than that. 90.
Don't forget about Let's Get Physical Media.
Oh well, I'm not
Wait.
counting that.
Sure. You sure.
Let's say 92.
It's more. Including Let's Get Physical Media. I would have to go back and look at numbers to change it, and I'm just not going to do it. We're at like 101 right now. We might be doing another
Jesus
couple
Christ.
episodes on Let's Get Physical
Whoa.
Media, so it's going to be more in the triple digits.
In the file.
And that's not including
Well, now we're just gonna have to take a big old break in all 2020.
that's not including the YouTube shit that we've done and also the guest spots. We've done like 14 guest spots.
Yeah, that's not including what the
That's-
interviews we've done,
Interview,
the
yeah.
documentary we made,
lot.
the YouTube videos we
We did.
made.
We did like 15 watch parties plus 3 live events plus Juice. You did a 4th live event and fucking Soul.
Oh
We
yeah.
did trivia. We did our Chilloween party.
Oh my lord.
We did. It was a
I need a
busy
nap.
year. It was a busy year.
Oh my lord.
I need a nap too. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us this year. Hopefully you enjoyed the shit that we got up.
It was a
to.
good year.
It was a good ass.
It was a
Best
great
year
year.
for straight chilling, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, across
Check
the
the
board.
Instagram
Best-
to see where it ends up. But thank you all for the
Yeah.
support.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
guys.
for sure.
Thanks to everybody that joined on Slack and started hanging out with us over there. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you guys as our community grows, man. It's fucking cool to see all these people hang out and create their own shit. It's wonderful. More to come next year for sure. We're gonna be back with the first episode of 2023. We're gonna be talking about the winner of the January poll, which at the time of this recording seems to be definitely Barbarian. That could change, of course, since we're recording a little early.
You should
but
change it just to make Rob look like a fool.
That's fine. That's totally fine. I'll talk about whatever you
Well,
want.
they're gonna make you talk about the menu, Bob, you fool.
Talk about.
Oh,
side-
Rob, I'm sorry we're not talking about Barbarian.
Oh,
which you
Rob,
lobbied so hard for. Just had to announce it.
Yeah. So watch whatever the winner of the January poll pick is and get ready for our first episode of the new year. Holy fucking shit. Until then, rate, review, subscribe, hang out, do whatever the fuck you want. Have a safe and happy New Year's, and we'll be ringing in the bell with you all very soon. Ringing it in. Until 2023, all you mother truckers out there, keep chilling.